Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knights of the Dawn podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Megan.
And we are here today with our first episode in Book 5 of the Fablehaven series, Keys to the Demon Prison.
Woohoo! We made it to book 5.
It's been a while, but we made it. So
yeah, it's been like 2 years.
yeah, something like that.
It's fine.
But we're here, and we are going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, starting off.
We're doing chapters 1 through 5 today.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They start full force.
We're off to the races.
There's a lot to happen in this book, and he goes right into
We
the
got to get
races.
started early and fast. So right off the bat, we have chapter 1, A Dying Wish, is Seth talking to Graulus.
Yeah. Graulus is like basically asking him for a favor on his, as the title implies, his deathbed. He's like, I am literally on the verge of dying, not months, not really weeks, probably days. And he basically is asking him, if you have a chance to get the Sands of Sanctity, bring them to me and heal me so that I can pass peacefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find, because it talks about, he says, after long years of dwindling, my final days have arrived.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's been dying for so long.
For like centuries, probably.
Probably. And now just finally, he's now starting to taper off.
I just think the first sentence is funny. Seth knew he should not be here.
Summary of the entire series.
Every time he goes to see Graulus, he's like, I probably shouldn't be here.
It's literally Seth every single book. Yeah, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyways.
But I
That's
feel
funny.
like this one, it's more like, I know I shouldn't be here. But he almost like he doesn't want to be there. Because
I feel like
he doesn't know why.
I don't know.
At first.
He said he heard the call, and
Yeah.
it really, he does have some, maybe not affection, but like when he hears that Graulus is dying, he says honestly, he's like, hey, I know you're a demon. I know most people would actually be like ecstatic to hear that you're dying.
Yeah.
But you've helped me. So
He's indebted to Graulus.
yeah, and so he just goes, I'm sorry, and he genuinely means it, which I think says a lot about Seth as a character.
I mean, he's just a 12-year-old kid. Like,
yeah.
hearing about death, like, he's witnessed death and,
So yeah, but yeah, he's a sensitive boy, and when he hears that somebody's dying, he's like, well, yeah, you're a big scary demon that you've probably killed hundreds of thousands of people, but I'm sorry.
And he even says, can I help? Like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh,
Yeah,
he's an empath.
pretty much. And it also mentions that Graulus found out from Newland Doran that Seth and Kendra are leaving the preserve the next day for
Yeah.
Obsidian Waste, which is the fourth secret preserve.
Yes.
Because at this point
That's where the key
Yeah.
from Wormroost goes to.
Yes, we have, like, just to do a quick accounting, Fablehaven was the first one we went to. Las Mesas number 2.
Yep.
Whoa, my brain just went
Rio
totally
Branco, the Brazilian one.
Rio Branco, yep.
Yeah.
The Brazilian. And then for some reason I thought there was another one between Las
no.
Mesas and Rio Branco, but
And then-
it was not coming. And now Obsidian Waste number 5 is still unknown.
Yes. The 5th unknown secret preserve,
Mm-hmm.
which has been like the best kept secret.
Since sliced bread. That made no sense whatsoever, but we're just gonna keep going.
Okay.
All right. I really do love how Seth is just being so empathetic, and also Graulus even talks about, he says he's in pain, but he more than anything is scared of dying
Yes. That was interesting.
because of this specific. This is what he says. After how I have lived for thousands of years, I will have to pay a steep price. But you're not the person you were, Seth said. You've helped me a lot. I'm sure that will count for something. Graulus huffed and coughed differently than he had before. It almost sounded like a bitter chuckle. I meddled with your dilemmas from my deathbed to amuse myself. Such trivialities will do little to offset centuries of deliberate evil. I have not changed, Seth. I am merely powerless. I have no drive. As much pain as I am now enduring, I fear that the afterlife will hold far greater agonies.
That's so interesting. That, like, the demons have a afterlife where they know that they'll like suffer for their sins, I suppose.
Yeah, like really in this, like
It's so
Brent, like
interesting.
Fablehaven confirmed has an afterlife, because even when
Yeah.
Seth is like, yeah, I'm afraid to die too, just trying to be empathetic. Growlithe is like, no, you don't get it. Like there are spheres beyond this one. You got nothing to worry
"You'll be
about. You're
fine."
fine with whatever comes next. Me? Not
I have
so
to
much.
pay for my crimes.
And I honestly found it interesting how he talked, because just the way he was saying such trivialities will do little to offset centuries of deliberate evil. It almost makes me think that, because we talk about how most magical creatures can only change if they have
Association with humans.
interactions with humanity.
Yeah.
I don't know, the way he was speaking here kind of made it feel like his, at least, was more intentional. Like, this is less than just a bear being a bear and, like, a serial
It's
killer.
not really like his nature. Well, it is his nature to be
it
evil,
is,
but
I don't
he
know.
also chooses it.
Yeah, it just,
Well, I don't know.
it felt a little different in this. I don't know. It was just the way it was worded. Centuries of deliberate evil again. Talking about he is, I don't know.
More
it
than
just-
his fair share? I don't know.
I don't know. It feels like, do you agree that
Deliberate
it feels a
evil
little
is,
weird?
yeah. I hadn't really thought of it, honestly.
Like, it feels less than like the bear kills because it's a bear, and more
Yeah,
like,
I get what you mean.
yeah.
But also, I feel like the demons, it is part of their nature, at least a little bit. More than a little bit. And I'm drawing off of, like, back in book 3, when we talk about, like, light versus dark,
Yeah.
not necessarily good versus evil. So I guess you could say demons are dark, but they choose to do evil things.
I guess with the same argument that by definition Seth is dark.
Yeah,
Kendra
that's
is
what
light.
that's kind of what I'm
Okay.
also going.
I see where you're going with
to,
that.
you
and
know.
I
Because,
concur.
like, back in book 3, when we were talking about, like, the shadow plague and, like, the creatures turning dark, and they were saying that, like, darkness doesn't necessarily mean evil, but it's what they choose to do that makes them evil, you know? And that it also applies to Seth. So I guess, is that kind of what you're thinking of?
I think so. I don't know. It was just the way he was speaking it.
It is
felt like he
interesting how
had
he
more
says it.
agency. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
see
it
what
felt
you
like.
mean, yeah.
But yeah.
I do like how it's written, like, physically written in the book, how Growlithe is, like, speaking. Like, every few words,
There's an ellipsis.
there's ellipses. There's just, like, pauses, and you can tell he's pausing because he's, like, in pain,
There's
barely able to get it out.
laboring through
Yeah,
this.
it's
Yeah.
labored to even, it's hard for him to even get these words out. So that's just, like, I just think that's a really good way through the physical writing of the book to show that.
Yeah. And beyond that, like, every other descriptor is grotesque. Like, a faint smile touched the demon's desiccated lips.
Yeah.
He growled through clenched teeth.
Ugh.
His fist tightened. Breath came in sharp, ragged bursts. Creamy tears oozed from his eyes. Like, seriously, it's like every single paragraph there's some way of showing, by the way, this guy's in agonizing pain as he lies on his deathbed, but continue with your dying wish. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so like Megan said, Sands of Sanctity is his final request.
Yeah.
If you, like he says, you're leaving, I'm presuming you're going after another artifact, because there's no way in heck that your grandpa would risk you and Kendra both on a mission otherwise.
Yeah.
And if by some chance you guys come and find the Sands of Sanctity, bring it. And just let me pass on peacefully.
And Seth is like, I can neither confirm nor deny any of this. But Growlithe is like, I know that there's a very small chance that I could get the Sands of Sanctity, but on the very small chance, that just gives me hope to, like, dwell on. And Seth's like, okay, I promise that if I get the Sands of Sanctity, I will bring them back and use it on you so you can pass peacefully.
Yeah.
Something kind of fun about this chapter is I remember before book 5 came out, they released this chapter as like a read before, like a
it-
preview chapter,
Is
basically.
it just a Brandon thing to do preview chapters? My goodness.
Brandon Sanderson, Brandon Mull. I think it was only for this book that he ever really did that.
Well, did he?
I can't really. I guess he
Brandon Mull
probably
only-
did it in other books, but I distinctly remember reading this chapter probably like a month or two before book 5 came out.
Yeah. It's
Way
also
back when.
like in my copy, I'm using Libby, and so it's like an online copy, so it's not going to be exactly what's in the book.
Yeah.
It's only 7 pages, in contrast to most of the others being
It's
like
short.
minimum 20.
It's like a prologue, really.
It does feel like a prologue. It does not feel like a first chapter.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he released it early.
Yeah. It was just like a teaser for also at the time that book 5 came out, Fablehaven was already big.
Yeah.
At least where I lived, Like I knew a lot of people that had read it. So
My
was
sister might
exciting.
have been reading it when it came out. I just didn't get around to it until after it was all out.
I feel like it was
I had
also around the
privilege.
same time that Percy Jackson got pretty big. Like it wasn't as big as Percy Jackson. Maybe it was.
Probably
Maybe
depending
not
on where
as.
you lived.
It probably depended on where you lived. Maybe not as far reaching,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like Fablehaven is pretty well known, honestly.
I would say it is. Yeah.
So I just like remember. I mean, I know you weren't reading it at the time that
Yeah.
book 5 came out,
I'll
but
just rest on my
I
privilege
was-
over here.
privilege. I feel just because I had to wait a year, but I think I was privileged to read it when it came out.
You were there.
Let me tell you. Let me
there
tell
are
you about
pros
this.
and cons.
I was in 5th grade
Mm-hmm.
when book 5 came out, and my whole family we were all into Fablehaven. This was back in this was 2010 or 2011.
I'm checking right
One
now.
of the
Continue
two.
speaking.
My brother, who was like 19 at the time, I think, went to Walmart at midnight and asked for the book because they hadn't put it out yet, and they went back in the back and got a copy for it. And he stayed up until 4 a.m. reading it.
I did not know that he asked an associate. That's funny.
Yeah, because the book wasn't out because it was midnight, and it was they weren't doing a midnight release. It wasn't Harry Potter style midnight release. He just went on his own with his own money, went and got the book. And I remember being the next day, I was like, oh my gosh, you're so far. And it just slowly made its way through our family. We would steal it from each other. I, of course, was the youngest, so I got it last. But it was just funny. This was probably the only one I physically read first before listening to it, because I usually just listen to it on CD. But it was just fun.
Mm-hmm.
It just went through my whole family, and we would take it from each other, and then slowly everyone finished it. And yeah, so that's just a fun memory of book 5.
All right. I do have some dates.
Okay.
Book 5 of Fablehaven released March of 2010.
Okay, so I was 10.
Yeah. And for context as well, like Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian, Book 5 released May 5th, 2009.
I remember that.
Lost Hero was October 12th, 2010.
2010?
Mm-hmm.
2010. Oh, yeah.
I did not realize those were so close together.
Okay, so book 5 of Fablehaven came out when I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I remember when Last Olympian came out, too. I started reading both series around when, both book 3s were out.
I started reading both series right around book 5 came out. Because I remember when I first read Percy Jackson, or maybe when I first got to Lost Hero. Lost Hero was I remember getting to Lost Hero and then having to wait for Son of Neptune. And then, but with
You lucky duck.
Fablehaven, I read 1 through 5. So it was probably in between 2009 and 2010 that I started getting into the books. Well, I'm gonna say 2000. I'm gonna say 2011 is probably when I got into them. I don't remember exactly, but 2011 sounds about right.
I want to say I was in 2nd grade. So it was 2008-ish.
Mine would have been 5th or
Around
6th.
there. Nice.
So
And I got into them because my sister, who was in 6th, 7th grade, was reading them. So
same here. Those darn older sisters, am I right?
Yep.
getting us obsessed with
But
book
they're not the
series.
ones
How
of the podcast,
dare
are they?
The second daughter's always the one. The first fell hard, but the second fell harder.
True. Okay. Anyway, that was a fun little tangent. I have very fond memories of book 5, so
Yes.
obviously it's my favorite because it was number 1 on our tier list.
It was. And you know what's funny? I was like listening to you tell that story, and I just on a whim decided to listen to our tier list the other day.
I probably told the same
You told
thing.
the story. But you
Even
didn't-
about the first chapter?
not about the first chapter and
Oh,
not about
but-
the associate, but you mentioned how your brother went
Oh,
to
yeah, my
Walmart
brother.
and got
Okay.
the book and
Yeah.
how it just trickled its way down the family.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just, okay, repeating myself.
No, it's fine, it's fine. That was like 2 years ago. You're fine. Yeah, and also, it was also when, what was it? My brain just went blank. You mentioned that you guys would read at the dinner table and everybody else would just be like staring at you.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
make sure
no, it was my
you did-
sister who was reading at the dinner table, and we were like, don't get food on it. And I swear she did get a little food on it. I could probably go home, look at my copy, and find the page that has a little bit of food on it.
I want to see it, please. I want to see it DNA tested so we can confirm.
Okay, whoa.
Maybe not DNA, but just like chemically tested. See what you guys were having
Oh my
like for
gosh,
dinner.
that is
2010.
ridiculous.
It's the historian in me. What can I say? We want accuracy. We want all the facts about this
DNA.
story.
You're talking to the family historian?
You know, that's fair. That's
Okay.
totally fair.
Anyway, chapter 2. Can I just say Obsidian Waste is such a baller name?
It really is.
It's so good.
And honestly, it makes me feel sad that like, because this is like 2 out of the 5 preserves have such like awesome names that are based on their vaults.
And then it's just
Because we have Lost
Fablehaven.
Mesa and Obsidian Waste, and maybe it's because those are the 2 that we have to go to, and so like those are the main things we see about those preserves. So it makes sense. Like, because with Rio Branco, like we don't see the White River.
It's just Connecticut. It's Connecticut, right? Is it Connecticut or Massachusetts? I can never
I think
remember.
it's Connecticut.
It's Connecticut. It's Connecticut.
Because they
It's
live in
Connecticut.
Pennsylvania.
They live in Pennsylvania. No, I have hardly ever gone to the East Coast.
I have
it's hard
never
for me to
gone,
remember.
but I'm going this year, and I'm very excited. So excited.
What is the farthest east you've gone, Jessica?
Star Valley, Wyoming?
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah.
Unless
Spoiler
we're
alert.
unless we're
we live on the
counting
West Coast.
Brazil.
I meant in the
In the United
US.
States, there was also a brief layover in Houston for the Brazil.
Layovers do not count.
I'm aware. But
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, Star Valley, Wyoming, which is not farther east than the border with
That is.
Utah.
Oh my gosh.
I kid you. Okay, guys, I grew
How
up
have
living.
you never been further
Like
east?
we said, I grew up living in Arizona, and I kid you not, I was like 2 hours away from Four Corners. Never went.
Really?
So I could never even say.
You've never even been to Four Corners.
Nope. And like at one point I went to
I mean,
it's
I
called
know
Window
that one.
Rock. It's like pretty much right on
Window Rock.
it's Window Rock, Arizona. It's right on the border with New Mexico. So again,
Hmm.
it was probably spitting distance to the border. Didn't cross it. I don't know what that map the parallel is right there, but I have not crossed it ever
Oh my God.
unless we're counting the flights.
No.
I
you're
am such a lame person.
not. You're not lame. You just have stayed on the western
But
coast of the U.S.
this summer, I
Somehow.
am going to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, and I am so
That's
cool. excited.
I want to go to Philadelphia so bad.
So, yeah.
East Coast is so cool.
hmm
Especially
I'm
for
excited.
us American history buffs.
Yeah, and I'm actually specifically
have been to
going on
DC,
like a
though.
history trip, and it's so much fun.
That's cool.
All right.
Okay, anyway. So yeah, Connecticut. I mean, Fablehaven is already a cool name.
It is a sick
It's not
name.
like, well, kind of, okay.
What was
when
that accent? Was it kind of? There was a little bit of that kind of had so much weird twang to it. I thought you were trying to slip into the Aussie accent for a second.
No. Okay, now I'm going to explain my thinking here.
Okay, go for it.
I don't know why, but when I think of like, if I'm trying to think of like East Coast fables, where does Sleepy Hollow take place? Sleepy Hollow, that's like the one with the pumpkin head guy, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Sleepy Hollow? It's Sleepy Hollow, isn't it?
That sounds familiar.
I'm trying not to say Deathly Hallows here.
You were doing
That's what
so
my
well.
brain wants to say is Deathly Hallows or Godric's Hollow or something.
Sleepy Hollow sounds familiar.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the Headless Horseman guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but like,
Is that Massachusetts or is that Connecticut?
I bet it's New
It's
England.
probably Massachusetts.
It's New England.
Anyone who lives in New England is probably yelling at us right now, being like, "Why the frick do you not know?" I've
West Coast.
been to New York, and I've been to Washington D.C. That's the only East Coast I've been.
And as we've mentioned, I got nothing.
And Jessica doesn't have any experience with it. So that's the only thing that pops into my mind. It's probably wrong.
Yeah.
And also, like, Fablehaven is the name of the series, so it's not, like, distinctly connected. But he makes up for it on these other ones.
Yeah, honestly. And I also find it interesting now that I think about it is that the two, like, of the 4 secret preserves that we know of, we have Fablehaven, Lost Mesa, Obsidian Waste, and Rio Branco. The 2 that are named after their vaults are the vaults that are very prominent. Like, some of the defenses involved with the Fablehaven and Rio Branco vaults, I'm presuming...
we don't know anything about Rio Branco.
We know that Patton felt like it was necessary to specifically put the directions to it in the Hall of Dread.
But we don't know anything about the vault, though.
That's true, but like we know enough to know...
It could be in the water.
It could be in the water, but I'm just saying we know enough to know that it wasn't like out in the open, like easily accessible. Because Patton said, here are the directions. It's hiding behind these 3 boulders, as tres cabezas, along the bend of the river.
So it is connected to the river.
Probably. It could be underwater. That could be interesting. Speaking of water, we'll get to that in a later chapter. But I just think it's interesting, like, because their vaults were so prominent and big, like, that's what the preserves were named for, with the Lost Mesa being the location of the second artifact, the chronometer, and Obsidian Waste being, as we find out later, like just a huge slab of just pure
enormous obsidian slab.
Yeah, we'll talk about exactly the dimensions it gives us later, but yeah. First chapter / prologue was Seth POV. Now we're into Kendra POV for chapter 2 called, again, Obsidian Waste.
It's in Australia, so they have a
G'day,
lot
mate.
of flights. Yeah, good day, mate. A lot of flights to go to Australia. Anybody who listens in Australia, out of curiosity, I have no idea, but
if you
are,
let
comment.
us know, please. We'd be happy to, because I mean, I was able to contribute at least a little bit of information about
Arizona,
about Lost Mesa when we spent a little bit of time there. If you want to chip in with some things that you think are cool that we wouldn't know about when we're talking about the stuff we see
cool
in Lost
details
Mesa,
or something,
the creatures we encounter on this preserve, if you want to give us some insight on that.
I wish we'd had more time to explore Obsidian Waste.
100%.
It seems so interesting just with the creatures alone. Like they see like the Yowie or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a Yowie and then like the what are they called? It was like the something tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know more about the Tasmanian tigers. Yeah, I would love to know more about those if you guys want to reach out.
Like canonically also. Mm-hmm. Well, like I'm also saying like canonically in the book, I wish we could have explored Obsidian Waste more. Because we do get to explore Lost Mesa quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But we don't get hardly anything about Obsidian Waste. And we don't get like anything about Rio Branco. So, too bad.
Tears sliding down my face. Minus the fact that Maddox...
Yeah, oh.
It's the
Maddox and Stingbulb Maddox.
The Stingbulb Maddox like describes himself like slogging through the caves, trying to keep out of the sight, stuff like that.
Anyway,
but, yeah.
So yeah, they're flying in on one of the many flights to Australia. So we're good. So yeah, there's like a roll call of like who else is with them.
All right. So we have with Kendra and Seth, we have Tanu, and this is while they're on the private jet, like descending into
their last flight.
Yeah, this is their final flight. So yeah, Tanu. We have Elise, who was their bodyguard from the beginning of book 4. We haven't seen her since then, so it's nice to have her back.
Oh no, she drove them home from the airport to Fablehaven.
Did she say anything though?
It says she was there.
Okay. All right. We have Tanu, Elise, Mara, who is our resident
from Lost Mesa.
Our resident Wind Watcher.
Hopi.
Was it Wind Watcher? Was her
something like that? Yeah,
I think that's what she called herself at the beginning of Wormroost mission. And then Vincent, who is
He's new.
He is new, is described as a small man of Filipino descent, smiled a lot and had a faint accent. It doesn't necessarily say Filipino accent, though. I wonder what accent it could possibly be. Do you think just Filipino? Maybe it's an Aussie accent because it's implied that he is their kind of
I mean, the
ambassador.
Philippines are pretty close to Australia,
right.
so
you are right.
That he could be operating out of the Philippines and be the closest person to Australia and to upsetting waste. And he does say that he spent some time there, which is why he's on this mission.
So I'm gonna bet on Aussie accent. All right. And then
I don't know about that, but yeah.
Aaron Stone is their pilot, who's the same one who dropped them off at Wormroost. And then did we mention Trask?
And you didn't say Trask. Trask
is there as well.
The badass. He's awesome.
He is. I like him in this section. He kills it.
He's so cool.
All right. So there's our quick little roll call. Have you remembered what you're talking about?
This is when she talks about Warren. I'm just gonna read this. She wished Warren were here with them. It felt wrong to go adventuring without him, which is so true. It's just like, well, Warren is like
especially
a missing
to go
part.
to a vault.
Go to a vault. Yeah, every single vault she's gone to has been with Warren since book 2.
No, all of them, because it was, this is because I guess
that's what I'm saying.
It's the 3.
Since book 2.
Yeah,
it's the first one.
Yeah, that's true.
No, you're good. It felt wrong to go venturing without him. He had been with her at the Inverted Tower of Fablehaven, at Lost Mesa, and Wormroost. But now he was part of the reason that the expedition was so urgent. At Wormroost, Warren had been trapped inside a magical chamber. The entrance to the room looked like a regular knapsack, but inside the unassuming mouth of the bag, a series of rungs led down to a spacious storeroom, heaped with junk and provisions. After Gavin had revealed himself as Navarog...
Jerk.
Yeah. Ugh. He had destroyed the knapsack, stranding Warren inside the storage room along with the small hermit troll named Bubda. The room had been well stocked, but the supply was finite. Now, after 3 months, Grandpa and the others estimated Warren would be nearly out of rations. Without prompt intervention, starvation would claim him. So not only are they going to get the translocator, they're going so that they can try to save Warren because...
Which is honestly not number one priority.
That's their only hope to save him.
Mm-hmm. Because they have no access with the knapsack destroyed at this point. And also, let's be honest, Warren should be number one priority. Fate of the world.
Warren has done more than a lot of the other knights combined, probably.
Low-key, though. Okay, also, so just a quick recap. How long so it's been 3 months.
It's been 3
since
months.
Wormroost.
It's like March.
How old, so how long has it been since, book 2 or book 1? Because book 1 happens over a summer. Book 2 happens the following summer.
Book 2 and book 3 happen over the same summer.
Book 2 and book 3 happen
the same
summer.
Then book 4 happens at December.
Yes.
And book 5 happens the March after.
Okay, so it is, all right.
So it's been almost 2 years.
Okay, since the first book.
Because the first book would probably be mid-June?
Something like that.
Because it's the summer solstice for the...
Oh, yeah, you're right, totally.
For the festival night, so...
All right.
They're about 3 months shy of 2 years.
Yes. Let's see.
So Kendra's 15.
Going on 16.
Going to turn 16. Her birthday's in September or something, I think they say. Because they celebrate at the end of book 3.
They do.
And she's like, my birthday's not till September, October or something.
Oh, yeah. So she's
15 and a half.
And then Seth is...
I don't know when Seth's birthday is. Did they ever mention that?
I don't think they do. Should we just say 13?
13. I say 13.
Because he was 11.
Okay, so then my headcanon is Dragonwatch, they're 14 and 16. Not my headcanon, the actual thing.
That is
my headcanon is 18 and 16, but we already talked about that.
At length.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. All right, we got a little extra info about the artifact we're here to retrieve. Is that what you were about to say?
Yes, that is what I'm about to say.
I beat you to it by a heartbeat.
It's okay.
I saw your finger go up as I opened my mouth.
Yeah.
We're
on the same wavelength.
By the way.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Coulter had been trying to figure out stuff about the translocator, how it works, if they could really use it to save Warren, and he wasn't having any luck. And then Vanessa stepped in, and she started using her contacts within the society, that she can help, that can help her. And she figured out more about it, which I think is really interesting. That like she was able to figure out stuff through her contacts, and that basically like confirmed that they would be able to use it to save Warren.
Yeah, and also I love the motivation behind it. Like Coulter, I imagine at this point, he's had this. Sorry,
chronometer.
He's had the chronometer at this point for about a year, a little less than a year, and it cites like the frustration that they feel at having this magnificently powerful object that they're just incapable of using.
Yeah,
because it's just so complex. They don't want to risk like butterfly affecting themselves out of existence.
Yeah, however time works in this world.
Like we already had Seth risk his life when like first getting the chronometer, just being like, well, let's see what happens. Press the buttons at random. Like I think we talked about it when we did that section where we were just like, okay, buddy, you saved the world with your random button pushing, but you could have easily have just destroyed it. Don't do that again. Or like transported yourself back to prehistoric times.
That's true. Yeah,
he could
have ended up with a dinosaur.
Let's be honest, he would enjoy that.
He would.
Again, we're still in Kendra's POV. We're just really getting a synopsis for the first 5.
Also,
10 pages.
She's thinking about how the society took her parents, and she's wondering if they could use the translocators to save them.
Exposition.
Yeah. Last episode in Fablehaven.
Previously
on
Avatar.
Previously on Avatar.
I swear, sometimes we have the same brain.
Okay, well, we both love that, so we have the same experiences when it comes to pop culture.
Mm-hmm. What's the Merlin one?
All I hear is Merlin.
That's what I was thinking of, but I was trying to think if there was something else.
I don't freaking know.
All right. Okay. So
she's just angry at the Sphinx.
Yeah,
she's pissed off.
Yeah, I actually have a section highlighted that kind of highlights this. She just finished talking about how her parents had been abducted as kind of retribution for their success at Wormroost. And it says, the thought of her beloved parents paying for her decisions made Kendra want to scream her way to insanity. To combat the grief, Kendra usually let it flare into hatred, a fiery coal bed of wrath that grew hotter over time, fueled by fear and fanned by guilt. Almost all of that hate directed towards a single individual, the Sphinx.
This goes back to our betrayal discussion from a few episodes ago.
But also, I'm just reading this and I'm thinking, how much fear in you there is. Like, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Are you saying Kendra's going to the dark side?
I'm saying this may not be healthy.
So she's having a moment like Ezra did in Star Wars Rebels.
Pretty much. That's what I'm seeing here. She is... Like, I don't blame her for doing it, and she never goes too far. But I'm just saying, like, this is not healthy coping.
What else is she supposed to do? She's letting it fuel her actions, though.
She is, but I'm just, and I get like it's not the same as like using the dark side. Like she's not going crazy, and although
she has every right to be mad.
She
at the Sphinx.
100%.
Because like we were talking about last time. Or 2 times ago, he's the puppet master behind everything, and he's orchestrated
100%.
Everything that has gone wrong in her life for the past almost 2 years has been because of the Sphinx.
And I 100% agree. Minus Bahamut. Bahamut was not the Sphinx's fault.
Okay. It was still the society.
It was still, well, was it?
Kind of. Well, Muriel, I feel like, didn't she, have contact with the society?
I guess, yeah, it's implied that her imps occasionally... muttered, but let's be honest, the first book was Seth's fault.
Okay, well.
if we have to lay the blame at the feet of anybody,
yes.
It was Seth's unintentional
very unintentional.
His actions enabled Muriel to then take it.
Anyway.
Yes. But
that's
everything
beside the point.
Yeah, everything since then has been. It's the Sphinx, 100%. But
So, do you not think she's justified
I'm not saying she's not. I'm saying she's not justified. I just find it interesting that that's how he wrote it in a children's book. When you have children who may be going through similar things, being like, "Oh, I can hate somebody." That's what I'm.
It's a little more complicated than that.
I know that's more. But at the basis, it's just like, it's almost.
It's how she feels as a character.
It's how she feels as a character, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm just saying. And I appreciate that she never goes too far, but I remember when I was reading this, I was like, okay, Kendra, you need therapy.
That's an understatement. Do you think the
It'll
Knights
be
of
a
the
little
Dawn cover that?
They should.
They
Warren-
probably have to pay a
Warren
lot.
needs it. Warren needs it.
Warren
Seth
probably
needs it.
the
Kendra needs
most.
it. Low key. I want it to be.
Should we discuss Warren's? First of all, we don't know what he did before he was a catatonic, whatever, in a catatonic state. But he goes from being catatonic state to almost dying, having to be killed by the Santa Sanctity. Then, I don't know, helping Kendra stay alive at Las Mesa.
And I feel like
All these, like, I don't know, there's like so many things.
Even before that, didn't they say Warren joined the Knights at like the age of 16 or something crazy
really
like
young,
that?
something like that,
Like,
yeah.
He was a child soldier in many ways. Like
What he chose.
I'm glad Grandpa's in charge of the Knights of the Dawn at this point because Sphinx was messing stuff up. Oh my gosh, do you realize how involved probably the Sphinx was with Warren? Like, just
yeah. Holy, he's the puppet master.
He is
he's the chess
I'm
master.
just now thinking before he gets obsessed with Kendra, he was probably really invested in Warren.
Maybe not super invested because Warren doesn't have powers, and that's the reason why.
Neither did Patton Burgess.
Okay, but he wasn't interested in Patton. Patton met him like once, maybe.
Yes, but I can imagine. What I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying like the Sphinx would be like. He would probably just see Warren as the next Patton Burgess.
He's just using him as a tool.
Coming to combat him. And so that's probably why he recruited him so early on to turn him into a weapon for his own personal use. I'm just saying.
But without him knowing.
Without him knowing, for sure. Because, I mean, you have one conversation with Warren, you know this man is a diehard. I'm going to do what's right.
He's got a moral compass.
He has a compass, and it will point north until the end of time.
Even if it means he dies. Like,
this man will not be swayed.
No.
But I'm just saying, like, I imagine the Sphinx identifies him as an up-and-coming baby Patton and says, I need to recruit this guy and use him as much as I can. Because, I mean, why else? Like, he sends a 20-year-old into Fablehaven by himself to try and find the... to find the... Sands of Sanctity, the artifact.
It could also be, was Dale working at Fablehaven before then too? Like,
yeah, I mean,
he was probably like visiting his brother. Like, he also had like a familial connection.
It also says he has like a personal mission too. Yeah. So yeah, you send the person
like another
who has
way.
a connection. Yeah, but you send him
I know
by
what you
himself.
Mean. Yeah.
Was he possibly trying to get Warren out of the way?
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Or I mean, it's because look at how much experience Warren has infiltrating vaults just from the second book.
I feel like it is implied that the Sphinx has been the captain for a while. Yeah. Like, we don't know how long, but
all right, yeah, it's true. I was gonna say forever, but probably he theoretically
forever,
could though, because how can they know? Like, just wait till Lieutenant changes out to reveal. Hang on, my brain just went blank.
I did not follow.
Well, I mean, like, the mask of the captain of the Knights of the Dawn can conceal voices, so...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they can easily still hide that, Captain... The
this captain's gone, this captain is here.
Yeah.
But the lieutenants all know who the captain is.
I feel like you could still work your way around that. Only reveal yourself once new lieutenants have been chosen completely.
Yeah.
Maybe you have staged some accidents.
If we go off of Rip Dugan... You know, how there might be a high turnover rate of lieutenants, I guess, to put it that way. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. Accidents happen. I can see the Sphinx being like, I need to keep an eye on the Burgess bloodline because, let's be honest, Patton is the only rival that the Sphinx has.
And here's another thing. They also have connections to Fablehaven, and he knows Fablehaven is one of the secret preserves. So that's another reason
to keep an eye.
To also keep an eye on Burgesses because they have a strong connection to Fablehaven.
Mm-hmm. And also self-preservation.
Except for Dale. Dale gets everything. Dale got none of the... He's like the most like reliable
sedentary
worker. Sedentary. Oh yeah, sedentary. Like he doesn't leave, I think is what you mean. Yeah.
Well, that's what sedentary means.
Well, sedentary means like you're not active as well.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's true. I guess my brain's also in like talking about sedentary in terms of like
The Native Americans that you're teaching about?
Pretty much. Like, were they nomadic or were they sedentary? And like my kids have been saying, oh, so that means they're lazy? No, they were not lazy.
They were not.
They just had permanent homes.
Yes.
Okay, guys, come on. I swear. Kids are hilarious and yet terrifying these days. All right, continuing on. All right, so yeah, Kendra needing therapy. I vote for it to be named after Lena Burgess. All right. It's a foundation. That's my personal opinion.
Oh.
Like a foundation. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I was like, therapy named after her?
No, sorry. There needs to be a fund in the Knights of the Dawn.
Lena Burgess Fund. Helping
Lena Burgess Therapy
the traumatized
fund.
Knights of the Dawn.
Let's be honest, she was Patton's therapy.
Definitely.
All right. The Patton and Lena... No, Lena and Patton. You know he'd want her to go first. Patton. Lena and Patton Burgess Therapy Fund. Boom. That's it. All right.
Okay, so basically...
I do have a quick thing to kind of go with Kendra's therapy.
We do need to keep going.
I appreciate that she, in the next paragraph, she's like listing off all of the Sphinx's crimes. She like lists like him setting her up with Gavin, the 5 secret artifacts, initiating the shadow plague leading to the death of Lena, and then immediately afterwards... She says it was the Sphinx who had kidnapped her and forced her to use the Oculus. We've talked a lot about how messed up it was for her to force her to use the Oculus. And
Extremely.
We felt like it really wasn't addressed enough. So the fact that it was addressed here, I really like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that was just a catch that I had that I wanted to bring up before we moved on.
Yeah.
Now we continue. Sorry.
Okay. So basically, Trask is like, okay, we're about to land. We don't really need to do introductions except for Vincent because only I really know him. And Vincent is like... I'm familiar with the Obsidian Waste Preserve. And then Seth is like blunt. He says, how do we know you're not a monster in disguise? Seth asked bluntly. And Vincent gave a weak chuckle. I know we've all been dealing with unprecedented betrayals lately. The Knights of the Dawn have never seen infiltration and upheaval like the past year has provided. But Trask can attest I'm a knight to the core. Have been since my teenage years when my parents were murdered by the Society. There's some trauma there.
That'll help out a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to be added to that list of needing therapy. Well,
we can add him to the fund. How to qualify: witness death, lose family to society,
be victimized by the Society.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Trask vouches for him, and so we get back to
the objective. Trask is like, we're here to get the translocator, and. Also, they're kind of talking about the translocator, what they do know, what they don't know.
They definitely know more than they do about the chronometer, which is helpful. And it also makes sense because...
Well, translocator has, like, one way to function.
Yeah, it only has one use. You move different places, whereas with the chronometer, there are so many different, like, ways you can interact with time. So
yeah. If the artifact works right, Seth pointed out, maybe we could skip the flight home. That'd be so nice.
I mean, they've probably been in flights.
It's like 24, 48 hours of flights.
And yeah, because more than the fact that they're just trying to get to Australia, they're trying to be subtle about it. That means, like, let's see, where does it say, like,
they were saying that they were, like, taking crazy precautions on their entire way there.
Every pit stop, they are...
Changing clothes.
They went from New York to London, then to Singapore, then to Perth, and then finally the private jet.
That's pretty.
I guess that's pretty
almost as direct as you can get going.
Yeah, I guess. So they get to this private airstrip near the preserve, and they are met by 2 members of the preserve in jeeps, brother and sister Kamira.
Mm-hmm. Kamira.
Okay. And I feel like in my brain I've pronounced it Kamira, but I was like, hang on a second, let's think this through. So if I say Kamira, go ahead and roll your eyes audibly at me, and they'll hear it.
Right before this, Seth is like, welcome to Australia.
No, more than that.
I expected more koalas.
It says that he uses the accent.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I'm sorry in advance. I don't do accents.
I'll give it a shot after she does.
Well, how do you get into it? You know how like actors have like a word that like kind of triggers their like accent? Australia, mate. Welcome to Australia.
That was good.
That was pretty good.
I'm impressed. Welcome to no.
I had to say like mate, like
mate,
that's stereotypical.
Welcome to Australia.
Good day, mate. Welcome
G'day,
to
mate.
Australia.
Welcome to Australia.
Welcome to Australia, mate.
Welcome to Australia.
I expected more koalas. Which way to the Blackish Claim area? Kendra asked. Seth chuckled. Not one of the fancy airports I've seen. It's more like a smuggler's hidden landing strip. What do they smuggle? Boomerangs mostly. And kangaroos. Poor fellas.
Poor little fellas.
Poor little fellas.
Oh, gosh.
Poor little fellas.
Poor little fellas.
Wait, am I actually kind of good at a,
You're actually
at
pretty
a
good.
stereotypical Australian accent?
Poor little fellas.
Poor little fellas.
Is more like some smugglers in London Street.
Hey, there you go. I feel like I apologize if you hate our terrible Australian accents, but it's kind of fun.
I kind of want to do it.
It's kinda hard to stop.
Whenever Kamira,
Or Berrigan.
Vincent, or Berrigant speak,
You're gonna try.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. All right.
I apologize for both of us in
We are.
advance.
I hope we give you guys some
If
laughs
you-
though.
Yeah,
We are trying to do this in good faith.
putting
honestly.
ourselves out there. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're just trying.
All right. So we meet again, Kamira and Berrigan, the brother and sister from the preserve.
They're in their early 20s, dark-skinned
Dark-skinned.
and long-limbed. I love that he makes them actual, like, Aboriginal Australians.
Yep.
Brandon is really good at diversity. Shout out to him for that.
Alrighty. So let's see. I also like they're getting into the jeeps, and I love this exchange. I'm Kamira. This is my brother Berrigan. Don't pay any attention to him. My head is full of pudding.
At least I'm not a know-it-all. Okay, I can't do it. At least I'm
thought-
not a know-it-all with a poisonous tongue. Berrigan replied with an easy smile, one hand resting on the large knife strapped to his waist.
We're here to escort you to the house. I suggest the ladies ride with me, or his smell might be the end of you. Am I just doing English?
I think you're kind of bleeding into English. That's why I was like, oh, I feel like I'm doing English.
And I recommend the guys ride with me, or you'll arrive at Obsidian Waste with no self-esteem. That one wasn't bad.
That was pretty
That
decent.
one was pretty better.
I'm trying to think of how it sounds, so I'm also trying not to go into like a New Zealand or Kiwi accent as well.
I don't know the difference. What's the difference?
Have you ever heard Taika Waititi speak?
Like just Korg?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's New Zealander.
Yeah.
That's basically Kiwi accent.
I guess maybe I just need to hear him right after
Maybe a
another,
little more
'cause I don't know.
exaggerated, but
I need to hear it. All right. So I just love their exchanges. It feels very brother sister
you
coding.
have to channel the Irwins. It's the only Australians I can think of. Okay. Pretty
You could
awesome.
have just said Chris Hemsworth
Okay. Well,
or any of the
I feel
Hemsworths.
whatever.
Whatever,
Team
I'm not
Gale.
gonna
We were watching Hunger Games, and Jessica's Team Gale.
Okay,
for the first
aesthetically,
movie.
this one is aesthetically.
That's what you said about Jacob. That's what our group chat is called. Team Jacob aesthetically.
I'm still kind of on it plot-wise as well,
are-
minus the
Gale?
no, not for Gale. I
Jacob.
draw the line at child murder.
I'm glad. I'm glad you have boundaries, Jessica.
War crimes is a little bit below that.
He
But
does both.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But then Jacob, he toes the line with the zinging with the infant.
Toes the line. Toes the line.
The looks make up for it.
Oh, so if you're
Hot, you can get away with murder.
you're-
Yes, that's how the world works.
whoa, if you're hot, you can get away with being a brother and then a significant other to a child. No. Anyway, we all know it's weird.
We all do. I'm just saying, Edwards
She
isn't
did
much
it
less
for
weird.
I don't know. She couldn't think of another way to not
Make him look not attractive, which I mean,
Anyway,
fair.
let's go back to Fablehaven.
All right.
And Kendra's like, "Oh, I like your sandals," and then Kamira's like, "I made them myself. They say I put the original in Aboriginal."
Why are you now like a rapper? I put the original in Aboriginal.
Why are you analyzing the way that I speak? You're making me self-conscious.
I'm sorry. I'm just call me Kamira, making you alright, please.
You're just gonna repeat what I said.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, I was talking about the no self-esteem line.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry. That was I was just very
We can move on now.
okay, yeah. But
all good.
all jokes aside, I do appreciate how brother and sister coded this is.
Oh, the sibling banter is fantastic.
which is honestly only made more impressive by what happens in the next few pages.
That's true. Yeah. So they go on their jeeps, and Chimera makes the men eat dust, is basically what Kendra says. And then they pull up. Well, it is interesting because they're pulling up, and Elise is like, I think we're going the wrong way. And then she's like, oh, it's just the distractor spell, which is a good, detail.
One thing really quickly. So one thing I noticed while we were reading this is that because, hang on, how's it go? Because the distractor spell works on everybody approaching except for Kendra because Kendra's immune.
Yeah.
How does that work? Because I'm assuming Fablehaven has a lot of the same protections. It has a distractor spell to keep people who are not on the registry from getting it.
Yeah.
Whereas here we have...
Is it the registry specifically?
I thought that's what it was. Otherwise, it prevents you from entering.
Oh, prevents you from entering. Yeah.
I guess
that's such a good point. Why is the registry only a Fablehaven thing?
I imagine the registry is one
Or is it every...
I think every... I imagine...
But does it?
Well, how else are they binding these creatures?
No, but I mean about entering. Does every preserve have a registry, and do you have to have your name on it?
I think it's got to be.
Or is that just a Fablehaven thing?
I think it's I think it's everyone. Because otherwise, I feel like with the Sphinx's information, he would have found the secret preserves and been able to access them more easily. Whereas...
Like things like the translocator trump that.
Things like the translocator trump that, yes. But, like... I just found it interesting here that the distractor spell, even though presumably they've been admitted to the preserve, like they have the permissions to enter, it was still in effect. Because my brain just kind of went to the beginning of the first Fablehaven when they're just driving up to it and there is no distractor spell. So, like, are there different layers of protection? Like, if you're a permanent resident or, like, some protections can be exempted, whereas, like, maybe these guys only got guest access, so the distractor spell. But even Chimera says it still affects her.
Well, I don't think it would go away.
But it does for Fablehaven?
Well, it doesn't go away in book 1. They just aren't, like, I don't know.
Because whenever they're approaching Fablehaven, whether that's in book 1 or book 4, book 3, book 2,
they
don't mention a distractor spell.
But it has to be there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't...
Maybe the signs are enough.
And maybe the
trespassers.
Maybe the fence is magical because it mentions here that the Obsidian Waste is really it just has like a border marked by stone, like little stone cairns.
Yeah. Cairns. Well, that's like once you cross the boundary, that's how all the distractor spells work. Like it stops affecting you.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering like why doesn't like a Fablehaven distractor spell affect you on your way into Fablehaven?
Good question, because I feel like they don't really talk about that. But I feel like there has to be a distractor spell. Maybe not on the main road. Because they have the
like
gate. I don't know.
That's why I'm wondering. Maybe it is the fence gives it the extra.
Because like they say like the gate, it would take a lot more than even just a car to take it down. We already saw Stingbulb Kendra try to ram the gate with the car, and it didn't affect it at all. So,
yeah. Anyways, they get past the little stone.
They get into the preserve.
They get into the markers. They go through, see some cool little fairies. They say they're moth-like, which I feel like we talked about. We saw those in book 1. I feel like Maddox.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool because I assume I don't know what the area around Perth is like, but I'm picturing somewhat deserty, drier, at least a drier climate. So like a moth, like sounds like the right for the climate. Oh yeah,
it feels right. I'm just thinking. I remember maybe Maddox mentioning that he tracked down some similar fairies.
Yeah, and then the thylacines, Tasmanian tigers, which is kind of cool because it's Australia. You know, those are supposed to be extinct.
So I'm having the power of speech. Would love a conversation with one of those things. And then up a slope, we see a hairy, humanoid figure, a yowie, kind of like a Sasquatch, timid but curious, elusive. Often glimpse them, but they'll flee once you show too much interest. Love to learn more about those.
It's interesting. And so yeah, they're approaching the main house of Obsidian Waste.
Talks about the Rainbow River, which was a gift to Obsidian Waste from the Rainbow Serpent, one of their most revered benefactors. I find it interesting that they throw out benefactors, like it's almost like a sponsor rather than like powerful guardian spirit or deity. No, it's just a benefactor.
Well, it's like it gave them the river, so like they benefit.
I don't know. It felt like a weird word choice.
Yeah.
An entity of tremendous creative power. Interesting. So
we don't.
Newton's laws do not apply here.
I wonder, is the Rainbow Serpent? Do you think that's something to do with like Australian mythology or something?
I bet it has.
Aboriginal.
I
like,
bet it does.
Mythology.
I would bet it does, especially.
Surely it does. Yeah.
If I'm thinking about this, a lot of what we've been focusing in my history class right now is how where you live affects the way you live, and that extends like from like shelters, from food to mythology. If you think about, I'm pretty sure Australia is a very dry climate where you would want to have water sources, so a river would be considered a gift from a deity. And yes, I see you in your hand.
Pick on me, teacher. Pick on me. I have my hand raised.
I just wanted to finish my statement where I'm making historical conclusions, and I felt cool.
No, it is cool. I just Googled Rainbow Serpent Australia, and this is Wikipedia. So take that how you will. But the Rainbow Serpent or Rainbow Snake is a common deity often seen as the creator god, known by numerous names in different Australian Aboriginal languages by the many different Aboriginal peoples. It is a common motif in the art and religion of many Aboriginal Australian peoples. Much like the archetypal mother goddess, the Rainbow Serpent creates land and diversity for the Aboriginal people, but when disturbed can bring great chaos. So it is from Aboriginal mythology, which is very cool.
Yeah. I like it because I feel like almost all of Brandon Sanderson's creatures are pulled from some kind of mythology. So it makes sense.
I really like how he pulls from different mythology, from different like where the places are. Mm-hmm. It's very, very cool.
Like there's always a bit of truth in legends. It's just a bit more real here. But yeah. What I was saying about history still stands. It makes sense that they would be like they would see like water as like a divine gift because it's rare in those areas and those climates. All right. Moving on. Seth's hearing voices again.
Back to Chamber of Secrets.
Back to the Chamber of Secrets we go.
Speaking of snakes.
Speaking of snakes, yes. Okay, guys, I need to know. Is this the 4th episode in a row that we've referenced Chamber of Secrets?
Tell us if you get sick of us saying the same old thing.
I mean, you're still listening, so...
That's true.
All right, so... I love this next line where Trask, who is like, hey, so Seth is smelling something in the wind. We have zombie voices around, and Seth he says it's interesting because they're not talking to him not directly like they usually would.
Yeah.
He can hear them, but they were distant, but now they're all around us, but they're still not talking to me. Which is interesting, and we find out why in a second.
Yeah.
I love the Trask asking Chimera, do you guys have zombies buried around here? She met his gaze with wide eyes. Her mouth worked for a moment without speaking. I don't know much about what's buried here. I don't like to speak of the cursed ones. We don't usually discuss such things, Berrigan agreed. The main door to the house opened and a woman emerged. Sorry.
You're good.
Her name is Laura. We get a quick introduction. Trask,
she's the caretaker of Obsidian Waste.
And then we hear everything's proceeding as normal, and then Trask once again brings up, Seth says he hears the undead all around us. Nodding, Laura shot a brief glance at Chimera. At least one of us has some intuition, she muttered. Excuse me, Trask said. Chimera scowled. And then in a quick motion, Laura yanked Berrigan's knife from its sheath and plunged it into Chimera. It's a trap. They're waiting for us in the house. Subdue Berrigan. Don't kill him. Let's go.
Yeah, that had a quick turn.
So just putting ourselves into their shoes. They've been on flights for probably several days.
Yeah.
They are already stressed about having to go into a preserve. And now, within 5 minutes of arriving at this brand new preserve where they were supposed to take a nice break.
They were gonna like
Stay the
sleep
night.
the night and then go in the morning.
Get prepared emotionally and mentally to go and face this death trap of what they usually are. And now they're watching the caretaker plunge a knife into I'm presuming the chest of somebody that, like, presumably she trusts.
That she loves. Well, used to trust, because we learn that Chimera
is a heckin'
traitor and betrayed them to the society, and the society is there. And so after Laura kills Chimera, so then
also Trask and Dugan, well, not Dugan, Dugan's dead. Well, Trask and Tanu immediately jump into it. They're like,
we're going to trust you.
They had to make a split-second decision on who to trust. Do you trust the person who says, the enemy's here, it's a trap, let's go? Or you trust the person, the side who just got stabbed?
Yeah. Well, they have reason to in a second, because they get everyone to the Jeeps really fast and they start driving. And then it says, as the tire spun, spraying grit and dust, an arrow thudded into the side of the Jeep, causing Kendra to look back at the house. Zombies were crashing through the windows and flooding from the door.
How rude, by the way. Why ruin the architecture?
Don't care. They moved jerkily, some limping, a few on all fours. That's freaking terrifying.
Hate that.
Oh,
hate it.
Didn't notice that. Okay. In the midst of them, she recognized a tall Asian man with long, grim features, Mr. Lich. A second arrow streaked down, lodging in the suitcase beside Vincent. Scanning the house again, Kendra saw the archer on the balcony, a striking woman with elegantly styled blonde hair. Wearing a knowing smirk, Tarina, her former captor, locked eyes with Kendra for a moment before ducking into a window to avoid crossbow bolts fired by Elise and Mara.
Okay, really quick thing here. Can I just appreciate girls looking after girls? Like, with both Elise and Mara being like, back off our girl. Yeah, like, maybe, like, they didn't know that's what they were doing, but that's kind of how it comes across, and I'm here for it.
Amen.
All right, so.
Then, through the front door came a figure clad entirely in gray. This is a new guy. His face wrapped in fabric. He dashed toward the Jeeps with astonishing speed, easily outrunning the zombies, a sword gripped in each hand. And Vincent recognizes him. He says, "The Gray Assassin?" And Vincent claimed, "Who isn't here to kill us? They don't just want us kind of dead, they want us extremely dead."
And as this is happening, we have not just the zombies coming from the house, but they're now erupting from around the yard. Dozens of them, as the Jeeps are accelerating away. Some had been crouched in holes, some beneath bushes, and a barrel of water. I don't like that. Shambling corpses approached from all directions, their hideous bodies in various states of decomposition. They gunned the engines and swerved to plow directly into the zombies who were attempting to block their escape. One zombie, specifically a stocky one with curly orange hair, which I don't know why that needs to be said.
Okay.
Because it just makes me think of Fred. Cat caught hold of the side of the Jeep briefly until Vincent hacked off the freckled hand with a machete. Okay. Seth snatched up the severed bloodless hand and chucked it out the back. And then the zombies in the house were receding behind them. The Gray Assassin continued after them, but quick as he was no match for the Jeeps once they got moving. Laura took the lead, with Trask close behind, and they raced towards the distant obsidian monolith.
End of chapter 2.
That was a heck of a chapter.
Yeah, we got all the stuff from the previous book out of the way, and then right into another betrayal and the society trying to kill them again.
Honestly, that's like, it really only makes those like quick interactions we have with Chimera and Berrigan even that much more like insidious, just because and impressive, because like Vincent, who has known these people presumably for a long time, like the first thing when they get there, he runs up and hugs them.
Yeah, he's friends with them.
And he says, "You guys haven't changed a bit. You're still going at it just like you were when I left, yada, yada, yada." Business
as usual.
Berrigan is not
is what they're trying to put off. Yeah.
Yeah, it says, does it say that he's being controlled by a narcoblix?
He's being tried by a narcoblix, yeah.
It made it wait to say that to the next chapter, but yeah. That is not Berrigan. That is a random dude who
impersonating him.
Like Vanessa.
Yeah.
So, and then Chimera, man, that is so...
It's messed up.
You know what this is?
What?
This just lends more credence to my Sphinx and Warren theory. Because what did the Sphinx now also do? He found another plant in another secret preserve.
Chimera.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, now I feel so... Oh gosh, I hate him so much.
It's crazy.
Honestly,
but she actually joined the society.
She did. So, I mean, definitely Warren's still the best. But, like, he's just been trying to find all of these preserves. I honestly, a part of me wonders why it took him this long to actually, like, get in.
Take over to the preserve?
Not even just that. What took him so long to get the artifacts? Like, because it's implied, I think, that he's...
the translocator?
I'm just saying, why did it take him so long to get all of these artifacts?
Okay, well, this is a
spoiler
discussion.
Let's get into that later in the books, when it talks about other things. It just, I don't know. Continuing on, chapter 3.
Dreamstone.
We also have some beautiful illustrations in this book.
Yeah.
Like, the first one we have is of the zombies, like, bursting out of the house to come after them. We get a good look at the Grey Assassin. We can see Tarina on the balcony. We get a look at Kendra, like, not
in the Jeep.
Like, in the Jeep. It's just a good picture.
It is.
And then, of course, the next chapter, the first line. Seth wishes he had kept the zombie hand.
What a perfect souvenir for his first official mission as a Knight of the Dawn. Instead, he had thrown it out the Jeep, almost reflexively.
Good reflexes. Your instincts are good. Your brain is
Your
bad.
Survival instincts. I mean, he's still Seth. He was like, afterwards, he's thinking, man, I could have used that for some crazy good pranks.
Thinks about terrifying Kendra with it. Because, I mean,
yeah.
Of course, little brother coded behavior, but still. That's horrible.
Also, he's thinking about how, he's
like,
good it was that Laura helped them, he says. Well, he's thinking, Mr. Lich must have been controlling them, instructing the zombies to lay low until the opportune moment. The tall Asian was a Viviblix, capable of raising and controlling the dead, and it also served as right-hand man to the Sphinx. If Laura hadn't helped them make a speedy escape, they all would have been zombie food.
Yeah, honestly, that was a very well set up trap.
Yeah.
And it honestly makes it just hit that much harder when we learn what it cost Laura to do that.
Her whole family is now dead.
We get a list when they finally arrive at the Dreamstone.
Yeah. And they're talking to the Narcoblix that has Berrigan.
Yeah, Laura explains what happened, says, we were betrayed last night by Chimera. Members of the society surprised us and captured the house. They thought the threat of harming their hostages was enough to convince me to lead you into their trap. There are no more hostages, Berrigan laughed. Oh. Not after that little stunt. Your nephew is dead. So are your sister and her husband. Same with Corbin and Sam and Lois. And she had to kill Chimera herself.
Yeah. Which is why she wanted to save Berrigan, because he's the only person that she actually could save.
That is so depressing.
That's so dark.
This is
also a good detail.
A different book.
Kendra says, before they start talking to the Narcoblix, you said Berrigan is under the control of a Narcoblix? Kendra asked, do you know which Narcoblix? He's at the house, Laura said. His name is Wayne. Kendra looked over at Seth, relief in her eyes. He'd been concerned about the same thing, wondering if Vanessa might have been helping their enemies. So that's a good detail. Them immediately being like, frick, a Narcoblix? Mm-hmm. Is it Vanessa? But no, it's not.
I'm also just like thinking like, we saw who was in that house and we know what she needs to stay alive.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I'm just thinking about like.
I think Tarina drained all of them.
At least a few.
A few, yeah. That's so sad.
Like, so many people just died in 5 minutes of reading. This is a different book. I know I already said it, but I wanted to say it again.
Well, we've been talking about it. Book 4, the stakes were raised, especially with the end with the society kidnapping. First, they kidnap Kendra, and then they kidnap her parents.
And also, we lose
Dugan.
We lose Dugan. We have... we nearly lose...
Betrayed by Gavin.
The huge trade. We nearly lose Warren. who has proven to be like the most capable characters, to have him knocked down so repeatedly really just communicates, well, it makes us think Warren like may have gotten a little bit like nixed a little bit, you know, like they had to knock him down a few power levels to be like, okay, so he can't get through every single vault by himself like it seems to have been the past few books. Because if you think about it, he was...
But Las Mesa wasn't, like, active, though. Like, Patton already
true,
disabled
but he
all
was
of the
still...
traps. Well, yeah, he was
They were still...
super
I mean,
necessary,
it still had,
but...
like, the puff pods of
Okay,
death
but, like, Warren's not,
and, like, the pillars.
super OP. He's just capable.
He is very capable. I don't know. It felt
so,
like they had to make him lose a little bit. But, like, yeah, like, this takes the stakes...
him a little bit,
yeah.
you mean?
Yes, pretty much. This took the stakes from book 4 and just raised them another 3 notches.
He has defined where we're going in this book.
And
it's very good writing, too.
Yeah, like, the tone was set immediately of what kind of book this is going to be.
Yeah. The tone, the pace, and the stakes have all been set. Which is very important to do in the first few chapters of a final book, you know, communicating to your readers what they're in store for. So, yeah, we're talking about the Narcoblix that has Berrigan, and Tanu uses this, like, serum
it's like a
thing? Nerve serum. And basically it, like, shocks the senses of the Narcoblix, so he lets go of Berrigan. And so we have Berrigan back.
I would also like to mention, I'm going to personally headcanon that Tanu has only started carrying that potion around since last year.
Yes, probably. He's like, I don't want anyone to get taken over by Narcoblix unless it's to slay a dragon.
Unless that, yes. With some exceptions.
I totally agree with that.
Like, I mean, if you think about it, when Vanessa was revealed as a traitor and as a Narcoblix, and like initially, it is 4-on-1. It is Grandpa, Grandma, Tanu, and I think
she takes them out in quick succession.
Not Dale, but against one. It is 3-on-1 plus Kendra, but
3-on-3 plus Sokka.
That's what I was thinking of.
You set me up.
Yeah, I did. Thank you for knocking down the pin so beautifully. All right. So it is 3-on-1, and Tanu's a big guy, but within like seconds, she doesn't like go after Grandma or Grandpa. She goes after Tanu initially.
Yeah.
And so he had to be the instrument that took out. That was.
He doesn't want to be used. Have him or anyone else be used against their friends. Basically. So,
Tanu is also now eligible for the therapy grant.
I think he already has been.
He has been, but that just gives him a little extra oomph.
And so Laura like asks Berrigan a few questions to make sure it's really him, and it is. And that's probably quite the wake up of being like, what the frick is happening? Also awful because he learns that Chimera is a traitor and that she's dead.
It's honestly so terrifying because like up until this point, they have been like restraining Berrigan physically or Wayne, the Narcoblix, because otherwise who knows what he could be capable of doing. At the very least, he goes back to the society, and once Wayne lets him go, they kill him. So, because I mean, at this point, what's the use of keeping him alive? Why let him live? But they get to, whatchamacallit, they get to, like, they have him restrained, like, in a wrestling hold, like, pushed against the ground. And once he finally wakes up, he's, like, struggling, like, eyes on Tanu, like, what is going, because if in his eyes, he was drugged and wakes up, and now there's this huge Samoan in front of him, and somebody is hitting him to the ground.
That's what I'm saying. He's completely disoriented.
Completely. And then only when Lara comes into frame and she's like, hey, they're friends. It's okay. He starts to calm down. And there's this one moment.
Very normal reaction.
It is very normal reaction, but I love this. He says, what happened? He asked, somewhat calmer. Lara caressed his forehead. That Narcoblix drugged you and stole your body. She kind of talks about what happened, but just like that one subtle like touch, it tells me so much about what she's feeling. And also, but their relationship is just like they're all that's left of this preserve.
She was able to save him.
That hurts so much. And then he has to learn about his sister, who like, we see they were very close. They teased each other like all close siblings do.
And he talks about it a little bit later with Seth,
which is a great conversation.
It's a great conversation where he's like, I can't believe she would do this. Like, how did this happen? Did it happen when she was at university? I just can't even comprehend this. And Seth is like, I thought my sister that Kendra had betrayed and that she had maybe been disloyal and then that she was dead. He's like, you don't know what it could be. It could have been mind control. She could have been a sting bulb. We just don't know, trying to like help him through this sudden grief that he has to go through.
Berrigan's just says, I'll take anything but what's I've been told.
What has actually happened, yeah.
And it's just like, dang, Sphinx, look at what you're doing.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't give a crap, and he's like...
He cares about his end goal.
It's terrible what's happening.
Yeah, we've established the Sphinx
is
very,
the worst.
very evil.
Scum of the earth, but it's just like just right off the bat to see like the repercussions of what these like, because I mean, if you imagine, like if you think about what might be going through Seth or Kendra's mind, if they'd never come here, maybe those people would still be alive. If they've never forced the Sphinx's hand, I mean, eventually it would have happened, but maybe it could have happened with less bloodshed. Maybe it could have happened with.
I feel like Torina still would have taken her chance though.
Knowing
Torina.
Yeah, knowing Torina, but. It's just
there's no guarantee of that. And also, they can't feel bad for the actions of other people. It doesn't stop survivor's guilt, but that's what you have to say.
I know.
It's what you have to know because it's true.
I know. And I'm just saying it's going to be hard.
Or else like how do they deal with the evil actions of anyone?
No, for sure. I'm just saying it's something that they're probably going to have to work through just based on past experience with them, like with Kendra blaming herself for Lena's actions, for Lena's choice to die. Seth feeling the guilt over nearly causing the destruction of Fablehaven in the first book. Things like that. Like, when their actions affect others, it's hard not to let those, like, consequences make you, like, feel.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a human
trait. So is the lot of a hero.
Indeed. All right.
So, Laura is kind of talking about what they're up against.
Whole lot of blixes.
She says, okay, well, Trask says, what are the chances of us taking the fight to our enemies before attempting to access the vault? That's pretty bold, seeing as there's like 9 of you.
Maybe.
Laura shook her head. Very poor. The Viviblix has perhaps 70 zombies under his control. Some he brought, some were acquired here. They have the Grey Assassin, a Narcoblix, a Viviblix, a Lectoblix, a Psychic, a pair of Lycanthropes, and worst of all, a wizard called Marav. I know that name, Trask said grimly. He's an old one. The sun is our best ally against him, Laura said. He cannot come out during the day. Direct sunlight would kill him. Once daybreak arrived, he was hiding in the basement. And we learned that he is a real wizard. So he was once a dragon, but he is truly evil and a leader among the society. His presence means the society is putting everything they have into this mission.
And we won't be able to stand against a zombie army along with a wizard.
Yeah.
All right, so they're smarter than they look.
And so Laura's like, I will do what I can to buy you time. And Berrigan, to his credit, is like, I'll go with you, Laura. And she's like, no, you have to go with them. Because Laura is basically doing Captain goes down with their ship type thing.
She's like,
she's going to sacrifice herself.
I was caretaker here and I failed. I'll do all I can to slow our enemies, but I will not abandon Obsidian Waste. I will hear no arguments. Tell your pilot to get out. So she's like, burn all the bridges behind you, both literally and figuratively. She's like, tell the pilot to leave. I'll collapse this bridge that we went over. We are burning all the bridges. We either get to the okay, she doesn't say we. She says you guys either get to the translocator and get out, or we don't get out, or you don't get out at all. Yep.
Yeah. So Trask is trying to persuade Laura not to throw away her life, but she's like, I've given my whole life basically to this preserve, and she's like, I failed. I'm gonna go down with it. And so they start to make their preparations to go into the Dreamstone.
I wonder how honest she is at as they're leaving. She says, because Trask says, don't throw away your life. Like, he says, don't throw away your life. Try to, you're smart. Try and survive. and get out. She says, I'm in no hurry to die, which I feel is honest, but at the same time, like, she didn't say...
But she's willing to.
She didn't say, I'm going to try not to. She said, I'm not in a hurry, but that she's not going to run away.
Yeah, she's not in a hurry to die. Like, she's not doing it to die because she feels guilty of what happened. She's doing it to, like, do whatever she can, because she's just the kind of person that will do whatever she can to do what's right.
As the caretaker, it's her job to take care of it.
Exactly. It's very noble.
Yeah, as the caretaker, she got to take care.
So they put the egg, the key, they just call it the iron egg because that's what it looks like, into the first indentation in the Dreamstone.
The only flaw on the entire surface is a small indent.
Yes. And it says, Trask rotated the iron egg to the right. After he twisted it halfway around, the top half of the key detached. Still holding the bottom half of the key, Trask discovered a smaller egg-shaped key nested inside. It's, how the frick do you say that?
Matryoshka doll?
How do you know that? Matryoshka.
I could be butchering it. It's Russian.
A Russian nesting doll, basically.
We'll just say that.
Not basically, that's what it is.
At least is our culture.
That's what we say because we don't know how to say the Russian word.
And I love how Seth is our audience stand-in here when Elise says, it's like a Matryoshka doll. Oh, what? Seth asked?
For those who don't know.
The little wooden dolls that fit into each other.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, right. Seth goes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so begins the mind games. Yeah, the mind games of the Dreamstone. All right. So they enter, and it's just a passage, corridor at the beginning, and they get to the end.
And there's a dead end.
And there's nothing. And they're like, okay, no. This is going to be a mind game.
Yeah, it gives Willy Wonka vibes. Getting into the chocolate factory, goes to the very end, and like it's shrinking as you go. Just nothing's as it seems.
It's true.
So, what is there to do when you hit a dead end?
Go back.
You gotta turn around.
And all of a sudden, it doesn't go back to the entrance, and they're like, oh, man.
And I love
this is going to mess with my brain.
I love how Mara pegs it immediately as soon as they turn around and start. Because, like, if you're going down a hallway that turns and dips and rises, and you turn around, it should follow the same path, but in reverse. And Mara, right off the bat, is like, yeah, this isn't right.
Yeah, she's like, she notices that it's different.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, let's be honest here. Mara comes in clutch.
This Mara shines
100%
in this.
So
yeah, Mara's like, I will lead. Everyone keep your eyes out for keyholes or something along the way. I guess we have to go back and forth to proceed, but...
Seth gets a little bit of a confidence boost when he's like, let's use our smart brain, a smart Seth brain specifically, kick idiot Seth back to the back for a little bit to have a little hiatus, and he's like, Kendra, keep your eyes extra peeled. If there's any distractor spells or illusions, you can see through it. And Trask is like, good thought, Seth. Do that, Kendra. And you can just imagine Seth being like,
I had a good idea.
They value
Trask
my
likes
input.
my idea.
They value my input.
Yeah.
So I just like that little bit. Like, because, like, they really are children playing in a adult world at this moment.
Oh, yeah.
And Kendra talks about that a little bit later on, about how she's kind of feeling like she's just baggage. She's just there to be the charger for the artifact once they get to it.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, what am I here for? And Seth, to some extent, is similar. He's like, I'm not very helpful, but at least I'm not Kendra. He straight up says it.
When does he say that?
During one of the first challenge. I think during the first challenge is they're working on
Goliath.
He's like, I may not be moving as much mud or as much clay
but
as Barrigan, but I'm moving more than Kendra.
Oh wow! Shots fired, Seth. Gosh.
At least it's mental. He doesn't say that one out loud.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, like it is really clear that these are kids. They're in over their heads.
Yeah.
Soon to be literally.
But I mean, at the same time, they've proven themselves. So.
Yes. Like, they're not completely...
Again and again and again.
They're not completely fish out of water. No, they're people in water.
They're
Wow,
the ones that have
all of the idioms are falling right now.
They're also the ones that have saved the day 4 times in a row.
Oh,
so.
for sure. I'm not saying that they don't have.
Oh no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just.
I like when they're going back and forth. They keep hitting dead ends. Vincent says, "I'm starting to have my first case of claustrophobia."
And somebody say, "Not a good time." I think somebody says, "Not a great time for that." I think it might be Vincent who said that, or maybe it's Berrigan.
Oh, Vincent says that. He's like, I'm starting to have my first case of claustrophobia.
Vincent is, it is his face shining with perspiration, because at this point, are they jogging or are they still walking at this point?
They're walking.
Okay, so that's
they don't jog till later.
Yeah, that's just nervous sweat. Yeah, Trask goes, great place to start.
Great.
But then Mara's like sniffing it out, like, I think we're making some progress, just not how we're used to.
Yeah.
Okay,
they eventually do get to an actual place, and they say directly across from them, a large statue stood in the alcove, flanked by a pair of granite basins. Carved from a greenish stone, the figure had a long face with exaggerated features and wielded a flat, curved club. A smooth expanse of greenish clay dominated the near portion of the floor, bordered by blue and black patterned tiles. So basically, this is where they come and they're like, "Oh, we have to make a champion out of clay to go against the statue."
I do have a bone to pick, though, with the people who designed this.
Why?
Because initially they're kind of confused, but then Trask inserts the key into a keyhole, turns it, and that's when the statue moves really quickly into a more threatening pose, but then freezes, and then writing appears on the ground, and the basins start filling.
So they take time to read it?
But the writing's not in English.
They're not here to play nice, Jessica.
I'm just saying, that's kind of a douche move.
Is this your first and only gripe with the creators of the vaults? Because they've done a lot of other douchey stuff.
Well, I feel like one of the base requirements of each vault has been, it's gonna suck, and people are gonna die, but it's possible. Without Kendra, this is completely vague and unclear instructions. But it's literally just an expansive play with some scribbles in the dirt. Because, yeah, Kendra can only read it because there's a couple in fairy languages. So.
Does it say there's not one in English?
There's not one. It's Seth's POV at this point, and Seth glances down at the clay and sees words inscribed in unfamiliar characters. "Look at the clay," Seth shouted. "Writing. Create a champion," Kendra read. "Time is short." "You read Sanskrit?" Vincent asked.
Okay,
or Chinese?
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
And I think there's only one fairy language.
Well, there's more than one language, so.
Nobody else is chiming in, but okay. So.
I guess it makes you wonder, because in other vaults, there were ones in English. There was English.
That's what
I'm saying. So I wonder
if
the Dreamstone was first?
Or maybe it's in, I'm going to butcher this, Aborigines? It's in a native Australian language?
It could be. That's true. Maybe there wasn't, it was only English because it was Fablehaven and Las Mesa.
Whereas maybe Rio Branco's
in.
Yeah, in Brazil, maybe it was in Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, so, okay.
So yeah, basically they have to create a champ. They have until the water fills the basins to create a champion out of the clay. Mm-hmm. And so.
No pressure.
It's funny. Trask is like, I was a failure in art class. Does anyone know how to work with clay?
Strengths.
And Elise and Mara.
We love a man who recognizes his weaknesses.
Yeah. Elise and Mara are like, okay, we'll take charge of shaping it. And then everyone else starts delivering them clay as they're running out of time. I would say, I don't know, they probably have 10 minutes. I think it's
10 to
15?
12 is what Mara determines.
Something like that.
Yeah,
they're frantically trying to build their champion.
Yeah.
Strong and more squat, but firm. I don't know.
Yeah, I like when they ask what should we make him look like. Nobody speaks, but then Seth's like, make him like Hugo. Not pretty, just big.
Yeah, which is good,
I mean, it's a valid point. You don't need him to win any art contests.
Yeah,
you just need him to be thick, be able to stand and move, and ideally bigger than the other statue. But I don't think they get that big.
Yeah. So yeah, they're all carrying clay, And Seth says, nobody dug out faster than Berrigan. The young man worked in tireless silence, his thin limbs carrying larger loads than Seth would have pictured. How skinny is this kid? Like
Seth describes as being like
sounds
minuscule.
like a skeleton or something.
I think like they actually have some banter about it.
They
like
do.
Yes,
he says you're skinny.
Young. He says Berrigan's like,
yeah, I think we talked about that.
Yeah, he says prepare your mind, not your sword, and he's like, you're young.
Well, you're skinny. I do remember that. It's just funny how Seth keeps describing him as like skinny.
Just a pipsqueak.
Yeah.
It's funny, yeah.
Like
right.
Probably no more than 100 pounds soaking wet or something.
I can see it. But maybe it's some
But
of that.
hey, he's fast.
How do you pronounce the word that his national is it aborigine? Aborigine?
Aboriginal?
Aboriginal. Thank you.
I think you were almost saying aubergine.
I know.
Which
I
is
was looking at the word because they have a joke about it later on that I want to bring up and laugh about. And I was trying to spell it out in my head because I don't have to say it out loud very often.
Yeah, aboriginal.
Aboriginal. Yeah, maybe it's that aboriginal blood in him. He's just got that clay moving power.
I don't know where you're going with that one.
Mara's got the orientation.
Let's not get
Berrigan's
stereotypical here, Jessica. We're delving into stereotypes I don't want to.
All right, we'll back it off.
That's true. Brandon Mull did do a little stereotype. We've already talked about this before.
Have with
Mara.
But
it's fine. You know, we're acknowledging it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so basically it's getting close to the end and everyone's like, and Trask is like, everyone but Berrigan help build the warrior because Berrigan's the fastest at the clay.
Because he's just busting.
Yeah.
But this is where Seth pulls out the, maybe I'm not taking out as much as Berrigan, but at least I got more than Kendra.
That's true.
And I love it. It's just such a
like,
great
it's such a comment. Sibling thing to say.
100%.
Or like be like, well, at least I'm doing more than Kendra.
But so because of that, Kendra gets sent to like check the basins. She's like, oh, we're only a couple minutes left.
Almost
and then
full.
She's like, 15 seconds. And they're like, what are you doing? Get away
and
from
Trask
there.
is like, get away from the statue.
Because like the clogs are right next to the statue who soon shall be named Nancy in true Seth fashion.
Yes.
But
oh my gosh.
I just find it so funny. Trask is like, girl, use your head. These two are about to battle it out like real steel. Move.
I like when, so the water fills up and it says, as Seth heard the water lapping over the sides of the basins, a sudden wind swept through the room with surprising force. Staggering, Seth found himself leaning against the gale to keep his balance. The wind died as quickly as it had risen, and the statue on the other side of the room stepped out of the alcove. The bulky figure on the ground sat up, no longer composed of clay. Like the other statue, the champion they had sculpted was now made of solid greenish stone. I think the wind is so cool. It's like the magic that like flows through and awakens the statues. It's so sick. It happens
quite frequently. And like I noticed when I was rereading this.
Yeah.
Like wind coming through the Dreamstone, not something you'd think of, especially because without any switchbacks they had to make with dead ends. But like just so much wind.
The only thing that can get into the Dreamstone.
I like that.
Is wind. I don't know. There's also magical wind, so listen to the
wind.
Galanin.
Hi-ya! I like yours too.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
So yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, we should name these statues. What should the name of our statue be?" And Elise says, "Goliath." Solid. And then Tanu says, "What should we call the other statue?"
Nancy, Seth said.
Vincent and Trask chuckled.
They're just big dorks. They're so just big children.
He's filling in for Warren. I mean, I can imagine either what Warren would have come up with, or Warren would have been very proud of that name from Seth, being like, not Nancy. That's funny.
Specifically Fancy Nancy.
Fancy Nancy.
All right.
He's just like, Nancy.
Nancy.
He's quick with it. It says Seth said quickly. I wonder if he was thinking about it while he was taking out the clay.
I can see, like, from a writing point of view, Brandon just being like, I cannot say our statue or the statue that we made and the enemy statue just would have been way too much confusion.
Yeah. No, it's way better to name it.
Just name it Goliath Nancy.
It's also just more fun.
Oh, for sure more fun.
Yeah. No, that's true from a logistical writing standpoint. I never thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Goliath is not as tall as Nancy. I think that's what you were thinking of.
Yeah, and also they were unfortunately, you got 10 minutes to make a Goliath, to make
Yeah.
a statue to defend yourselves. He ain't gonna be pretty.
No.
And he's not gonna be consistent. Like, even as they just start moving, they immediately notice that Nancy, being fully formed initially, is moving much more smoothly, much more balanced, much more quickly because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Goliath, while he is more brutish and like thick, he is off balance. One leg is shorter than the other.
Yes.
And not pretty.
Yeah.
Not smooth, so there's regular bulges, not quite as tall, but broader. Yeah, all right, yeah. So I love how the statues start circling like predatory lions, and Trask is like, okay, everybody back, everybody
Yeah.
back.
And Seth is like, could we help Goliath? And Trask is like, well, we better not chance it. We don't know.
They're
how it could
solid
work out.
stone, and we have arrows
Yeah.
and swords. Let's not risk it.
But Seth does do something. He cups his hands around his mouth and cheered when like Goliath was fighting Nancy.
He like
And
crushed
then-
a club or something.
Yeah. Without looking over, the enemy statue flung the remaining arc of his club towards Seth. Mara dove, tackling Seth to the ground as the broken club hissed over them before clattering down the passage. So, Nancy's listening.
I'm gonna be real right now. As someone who has played sports with very annoying spectators,
You want to throw something at them?
there are times where there is unfavorable thoughts towards the stands. And so Nancy's just the ref or like the opposing team who is just, I don't want to hear another
Oh
word
my
out of
gosh.
y'all, or else we're getting a technical, by which I mean you'll be removed not from the gym, but from this state of existence.
Gay.
I just found that funny.
It is funny.
And Mara again coming in clutch, saving Seth's life, because otherwise the boy is dead.
Yeah. So Goliath is doing his best, but Nancy's just, better at it. So they're like, we need to figure out what to do. And, well, Kendra comes in clutch this time, and she's looking around, and she notices there's a keyhole where Nancy was.
And I love the way this interaction pans out, because the stone hammer connected with Goliath's right hip once more, snapping the head off the weapon and breaking off Goliath's right leg. The enemy statue heaved Goliath away. We're dead, Vincent moaned. Keyhole, Kendra said, pointing. All eyes turned to the alcove on the far side of the room where Nancy had originally stood. Against the back of the alcove was a circular indentation a little smaller than the recess in the floor. Bless you.
Trask.
Bless you, Trask,
Bless
said to
you,
Kendra.
Kendra.
I just love that quick little thank you.
It's like, thank goodness. I did
It
not want to fight
gives-
that thing.
Yeah, it just gives so good vibe. Like, just
So, yeah.
Trask being like, you just saved our bacon. Because if, like, we see Trask get the key and dart out across the room,
Yeah,
and
he holds it like a football.
it just charges, I can just see it's like Forrest Gump. Run, Forrest, run, Trask, run. And Nancy starts trying to track him down, but Goliath, even battered and damaged
He
as
still
he
got
is,
arms.
manages to wrap Nancy up and
Yeah.
hold him while Trask makes it to the alcove. And I'm just like, if Kendra had not seen that at that moment, if even like maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds later,
Yeah. It
They're
would have
not-
ended differently.
he wouldn't have been able to stall for Trask, and it would have been game over.
Yeah.
Kendra came in clutch. You right.
Yeah. And the second that Trask puts the egg in the keyhole and turns it,
More
Nancy and
wind.
Goliath crumble. So, yeah.
And then more wind.
And more wind. Yes.
Like the floor that had been the clay pit that they had been excavating, which was super deep. Like they were at least waist deep with all the clay that they were excavating, turns into a stair pit after it after it dissolved into dust that was then blown out of existence. Again, magic wind.
Must have been the wind.
All right.
So, like, Trask is like, okay, now it's 30 pounds.
Yeah, at
There's
this
the key.
point, hang on, let me do a count. Getting into the Dreamstone was the first one.
It was like 80 or something.
That was at like 80. Turned to like 60. Second keyhole, I think, was just activating the first obstacle.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to do it at the end. They didn't have to do it at the end of any of
Yeah.
the switchbacks. Yeah,
So
it's
this is
just-
their third time.
So this is their third time, and it's now
went from like 80 to 60 to 40,
yeah.
now 30.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I love Kendra right after that. She says, "Having fun yet?" Kendra asks Seth. "Watching giant statues pound each other into the gravel? I can't think of anything more beautiful."
Canon, Seth's favorite movie is either Real Steel or Pacific Rim.
What is real steel?
Old Hugh Jackman movie set in a dystopian future where instead of boxing with people, they do boxing with robots. So it's basically Rocky with robots.
Interesting.
Like, I kid you not, it's like
Pacific Rim is a good movie.
Pacific Rim I think is solid. But yeah, Pacific Rim but with 2 Jaegers instead of 1 and a kaiju.
Yeah, that's funny.
So,
All
yeah.
right, so that's the end of chapter 3.
Mhm.
Move on to chapter 4, passageways.
I love how doesn't miss a beat from the ending of the 3rd
Yeah.
chapter with I can think of nothing
I
more
can think
beautiful
nothing more beautiful
from Seth directly into
Kendra.
Kendra rolled her eyes in the next chapter.
Yeah, I love it because we're back to Kendra's point of view.
Only her brother could act upbeat after nearly getting decapitated by a primitive stone club. She supposed it was better than wallowing in pessimism. Cough, cough, Vincent. Bro is constantly on it, which
Yeah, but he's also laughing at others' jokes. So.
he is. This is true, but he's also the first one to say, "We're dead. We're screwed.
We're dead.
This sucks. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead." To quote
Dead,
Morph.
dead, dead. All the Romanovs are dead.
They're dead. Bartok. Man, my Russian's on point.
Got it.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else.
Sorry, I distracted you.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I guess it makes sense that Vincent's the pessimistic one, considering what happens during the next obstacle.
Well, okay.
I mean, let's be honest
Yeah,
here.
he does.
He did. Yeah, which just sucks because I liked
really
Vincent.
Sad. It's really sad. We'll
It
get there in a
is.
second.
But yeah, so
So,
they
yeah,
head down
they go
farther into the
down
Dreamstone.
The
They
stairs.
don't have to do more switchbacks, right? They get directly into the water room.
Yes.
The stairway narrowed as it descended.
Oh, they reach a dead end and then they double back. Again.
Okay, so they did get it 1 or 2 dead ends.
Found a long stairway that curved up, up, and up.
Oh, now they have to go up? I
They
thought
go
were all
down
going
and then up?
Ugh,
I didn't realize that.
I
Okay.
would cry.
Then the corridor descended until they reached a cavernous, flooded room. So yeah, this is the water.
They went up, then down. They went down, then up, then down again.
Yeah.
I would, like,
I'd be like, ugh.
I wouldn't even care that it's a death trap. I'd just be like, just make it all go down, please.
Can we all be downhill? That's how you defeat
You're
us.
already
Going
trying to kill us with the traps.
upstairs.
Don't make me go upstairs when it's not necessary.
That's how you defeat people. Lots of stairs going up.
That would be my ultimate.
I'd be like,
would be
really?
Just, I'd be at the top of the stairs. My old enemy. Stairs. I'm seriously pissed about this now. Why make me go down back up? They're down. All right, moving on.
Or it could be like Riley from National Treasure. Riley, why are you crying? Look, stairs.
But he's happy to see them.
Exactly, because he thought they were gonna die in the depths of the earth. So
That's true. All right.
all right. So the water is like steaming,
hot.
boiling, simmering, whatever you would like to call it.
This
and
is
there's
hot
a
tub
little
of death.
canoe
Hot tub of death,
and just one canoe, and then there's an island in the middle.
which by island literally just means like a little mound of black, like
Yeah.
rock. I think it's not like a little picturesque like deserted island with a few palm trees and coconuts. No, it's just like a mound of black rock
So
sticking out.
they send Vincent and Berrigan to the middle to see if there's a keyhole.
Where
Is
there is.
Yeah, there is. Oh, but before that, Tanu comes in clutch now, and he pulls out his potions, and he's like,
finally gets to use
fire resistant.
them. Like, thank
Again,
you
we
so
have
much,
the,
Tanu.
the fire resistant, fireproof, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this
I
is
mean-
probably more effective here than it was in Wormroost.
In Wormroost, yeah. Because, I mean, if you're getting hit by dragon fire, you're dead anyway.
But at
This is a lot
least-
more useful.
The way he mentions it here is, like, it won't prevent you from feeling the heat. It just will prevent you from taking damage.
Which is, you know,
Honestly, he says
that's
it.
better,
Yeah.
honestly.
And I also, so they head out into the middle of the lake, in the middle of the room.
Oh,
And this is like one of my favorite jokes. I kid you not, like the entire book.
It's a good one.
It's so it's Vincent and Berrigan, who are like our two people
Canoers.
our two canoers who we don't know that well. Like we don't have emotional attachments to either of them. At least super strongly. Berrigan's not bad. Like we had him mourning over his sister
Skinny
and
boy.
having that connection with Seth. So
Yeah.
him probably a bit
A
more,
little bit.
but still
Anyway.
overall. And so let's not capsize, Vincent recommended. Not in the mood for boiled Aboriginal? Berrigan asked. I could live with that, Vincent replied. It's the side order of Filipino guy that worries me.
See, they're funny.
They're so funny.
They're so funny.
It's such
It's the
dark
side of
humor.
Filipino guy that worries me.
I love morbid humor way too much.
You don't want boiled
So good.
Aborigine?
Aborigine. Aborigine.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like it's Aborigine. I
That's-
thought it was Aboriginal.
See, this is one of those words
It's-
that I always read and I never knew how to pronounce.
I
Aborigine.
see why you were struggling because it's like Aboriginal.
I'm gonna look it up really
It
quickly.
must be
on Google.
like a version, whatever noun type.
like
is
Aboriginal.
Grammatically correct.
Like you're American. It's an adjective instead of the noun.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up. I'm not trying to look up Auburn.
You're not going to go aubergine. It's not an eggplant. But that is what they call an eggplant in Australia.
Okay.
Or like outside of the US.
how-
Aubergine. But it's not
Why
aubergine.
can't you say generally perceived as insensitive because it has racist connotations.
Oh, well.
From Australia's
we
colonial
are
past.
not going to say that. Yeah, that dates this book for sure.
All right. You're more likely
Frick, I'm sorry, guys.
to make friends by saying Aboriginal person, Aboriginal, or Torres Strait Islander.
Okay, so we should just say Aboriginal.
I should take that. Pronunciation. Here we go. At least so that we know.
But don't say it.
I'm not gonna.
I'm just saying in general to people.
Aborigines.
But we'll say Aboriginal if it has racist
So
connotations.
I guess the normal
Good
pronunciation,
to know.
like the singular pronunciation, would Aborigine.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll just
Now
say
you
Aboriginal.
know.
Yeah, that was a interesting tangent.
But yeah.
It's good to know.
So not in the
Okay.
mood. Let's not capsize. Vincent recommended. Not in the mood for boiled Aboriginal? Berrigan asked. I could live with that. No, you go for it.
I could live with that. It's the side of... Dang it. I could live with that, Vincent replied. It's the side order of Filipino guy that worries me. So funny. They're so witty.
It's so good. I love the gallows humor. I love
Man.
it. I love it.
Now I really wish Warren was here because I feel like he would vibe
Oh my
with
gosh.
Berrigan and
He is
Vincent.
so vibing. Oh my gosh, they would be so good. There would be, what about the side order of American fries?
He's like, yeah, well, I was already at shish kebab, so...
Yes! That was so much better than mine! That was so much better! American shish kebab.
He was already at shish kebab, so...
Yes! Oh my gosh, that was perfect. Alrighty. And then, honestly, same page, we get another joke. They're on the little island, and hot out here, Vincent called. You might end up with steamed Filipino guy.
That's so funny.
And Elise, of course, not even caring. Do you see a keyhole?
Yeah, Elise is like, cut the crap.
We're on a mission.
Elise is so serious, and I kind of love her for it.
We got 3 Blixes and a wizard coming at us.
Yeah.
Hurry it up, please.
So, yeah, he does see a keyhole, and he's like, I don't see any other option. Should I go for it? And Trask is like, well, time is a critical issue. So they put it in the keyhole. The water stops bubbling immediately, which is kind of crazy.
Have you seen have you seen Lion King 1.5?
Yes.
Pumbaa leaves the hot tub and the bubbles immediately stop.
Yes.
It feels like that moment where like a joke was, or like something just happened, a joke was just made and like everything freezes.
But
Even the
it's
environment, which doesn't make
not,
sense.
but yeah.
But this part,
It was
it's,
a magical happening, not
yeah,
a...
it's diet. Is it diegetic? Like it makes sense in world.
I have no idea what that word is.
It's like kind of with like music. It's like diegetic music where what you hear is also what like the characters in like a musical or the movie hear.
Oh.
And so it's like diegetic storytelling, I think is what it's called. And so in this case, it's like for the sake of a bit, like everything would freeze and be like, that wasn't your stomach, was it? Or like something like some kind of joke like that.
Oh, okay.
Like something freezing for a joke. But this part, it makes sense.
It actually freezes, not for a joke, but in real life.
Yeah.
Well, real life in the book.
Like it's not a fourth wall break. It's not a bit.
Yeah.
It's actually
I see what you mean.
part of the story. All right.
Here comes the wind again.
And another wall of wind and water.
I never realized
how much
every
wind?
time it's the wind.
It is the wind.
But that's like the magical, which is so interesting because I feel like there wasn't a presence of magic happening in the other, at least, I guess the only other vault that was live was the inverted tower.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a magical whoosh or something.
Yeah, I feel like this one, it's different because, like, with the keyholes, it's like there's an activation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Especially with Lost Mesa, all of the traps were...
Oh, that's why I said only inverted tower, because Lost Mesa
But even inverted tower... Well, yeah, I guess those traps had to be activated, but even with Lost Mesa, those were, like... You didn't have to activate them because it was the pillars, it was the poison pods.
Well, we don't even know if you didn't have to activate it because it was already gone. So maybe Patton had to.
Maybe, I don't know. Those
or maybe it didn't.
It feels like it's like a
because I actually still don't know if Patton got through the same way with the dragon or not when he got the.
That's what like. It just feels like those have like. They don't necessarily have like you push a button and you
activate
it.
I get what you mean.
They're just constantly on alert.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you turn the key and something clicks.
Yeah, it has an activation. Yeah.
And I feel like Fablehaven's almost similar, except for like the mural room where you had to touch the opponent you wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And then, because like you take a weapon into the monkey room and boom.
That's true.
But also you touch the cat.
So it's more like touching or entering a place that activates it in inverted tower, and then here it's using the actual key.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I like the difference. And I feel like the wind really fits the Dreamstone really well because the Dreamstone is so much more mystical. And so having like the wind come in and do it, I think it fits really well. I like it.
All right. So the wind blows through our magic wind, and along with the wind comes the water.
Yeah, which is so like
terrifying.
Man, it's so evil to push everyone into the water.
Yeah, it doesn't even just like flowing in from the bottom. Like literally, Kendra turns around, standing in like the entrance to the corridor, and it floods in from behind them, saying,
"Yeah,
you're not hiding. You're
going
hiding.
in.
You're in."
And it makes me think of Catching Fire when they figure out that it's a clock and then they spin the clock around. It kind of makes me think of that.
Yeah, it's just like nobody gets any advantage here. Nobody gets to hide out. Nobody gets to skip this one. You're all in. Get in the water.
And imagine if they hadn't had the fire resistance potions, because Kendra said the water felt scalding. Although Kendra hardly noticed it from the force of the flash flood, she was like tumbling through the water. So if they hadn't had the potions, they would have had burns from the water.
Honestly. Like the only hope you think is like maybe the water before this was at just above boiling temperature. And then
maybe the other water evens it out a little.
Yeah, as soon as the key was turned, it goes just below, so it stops boiling. So maybe it's not quite as, it's not like you touch it and your third degree burns.
Yeah, but it could probably be at least like first or even second degree burns. Like it wouldn't have been, like I feel like they would have gotten burned a little bit.
Tanu's definitely still coming in clutch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like as they get into the room and as they have to recover the key, because when a torrent of water comes flooding into a
tsunami comes in, you can't hold on.
Especially to a 30-pound.
It's probably like 20 pounds now, but still.
And like just solid metal that's hard to grip.
Yeah.
Vincent gets it washed out of his hands, and so Mara, Berrigan,
and Elise
are all diving for it because it's sinking like a stone.
Yeah.
And
Because
so
it's 20 pounds.
And of course, Mara comes in clutch
Metal.
again.
Yeah, they literally dive down like 30 feet or something.
I think she says 40 at the lowest part of her dive.
Yeah, crazy. And because all the water came in, like it's deeper now, and they're steadily. The freaky part is that the water's still coming in, and so they're slowly going toward the top of the ceiling.
Which diabolically.
That's like. It's like a fear of mine.
100%.
Drowning is a fear of mine. So like,
Okay,
I hate this part.
I know it sucks because diabolically, there's even holes in the ceiling so that no air pockets will form.
It's so evil.
This one is not good, and so
as the water is up, but.
Yeah, Agad was having a particularly bad day.
Someone, whichever wizard made this one. I don't want to cross you.
First stairs, now this.
First stairs. I'll take any amount of stairs over drowning.
Okay, that's fair. So the water keeps rising, and they notice that in one of the corners of the room is an extra chute, kind of like a chimney.
Yeah.
They're like, well... Because at this point, Berrigan, everybody who can dive is diving, trying to find any kind of keyhole along the walls, on the ground, anything. And, like, they'll surface and be like, nothing, go back down. It's, like, this is basically Tangled on steroids. They're just desperate trying to find anything. And they're like, well, there's nothing. We just got to go up and hope for something to pop out. And as they're now in this little tiny chute, which is barely big enough for the canoe that holds 2 people, and now it's having to hold 8, where they're all just like trying to squeeze together and not die.
Yeah, they flipped it over so that there'll be an air pocket. They flipped the canoe.
And even then though, like, just like the amount of stress as the water of the entire room fills, and now it's just filling this tiny chute, it's filling even faster.
Oh, and
because volume.
And then at the very last minute, they see a tiny little, like, passageway crawl space thing.
Which is, like...
at the very top of the chute.
Barely big enough for one person to just shimmy down.
Yeah, and so Berrigan goes in to take the key to see if he can find a keyhole.
Because he's skinny.
I didn't think of it that way. That is funny. Maybe that's why Seth kept bringing it up, so we could be like, oh, yes, he's a grown man, but he's skinny, so he can fit.
And also, he's been diving this entire time, so he
can
hold water.
Without Berrigan, they would have, like, died.
Berrigan was...
a few times over already.
Yeah. Like, maybe because Mara swims after him after a minute, and she even gets to take a breath first.
Yeah.
Like, she pops up in the air pocket, and she's like, maybe we should check on him, and she goes after him. But he's already, like, been in there for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just the stress, because they're, like... just trying to pop up in the air.
Yeah, they stay in the air pocket as long as the air is good. But once it goes stale, they all take one last breath and dive back down.
And like I'm thinking, like you go in there, you take a breath, you dive back out, hold it as long as you can, take a breath, go back out. At least that seems what Kendra's doing. But Vincent's the first one to break. He was the first one who goes to the air pocket.
Why are you crapping on Vincent so much? I'm
just saying.
You're crapping on a dead man. Respect the dead, Kendra. Jessica. Your names both end in A, and it really just got mixed up in my brain. I'm like,
good.
gosh.
I did just mention Kendra, too. So...
anyway,
and then, of course...
Seth is like, I guess you don't have any anti-drowning potions, do you? Seth said. Don't I wish? Tanu chuckled darkly.
And so, yeah, this is from when they're in the air pocket right off the bat. Kendra's head comes up beside Vincent, who was panting. The air smelled like wet wood. This is our only air pocket, Vincent complained. Not a bit outside. There must be holes somewhere, in the corners or something. Maybe so small we can't see them. He paused as if an afterthought had occurred to him. Or maybe the place is simply unnatural. He gave a thin chuckle. I guess now would be a bad time to mention that drowning has always been my greatest fear.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
about that.
Yeah.
Maybe he shouldn't have said that out loud. It's like the side character.
I mean,
it's like the side character talking about how like they're gonna retire and go like find a nice cottage, marry a girl in in the Scottish Highlands. It's a death sentence.
Death by the way you fear the most. Ooh.
Just like you bring it up like that, and not gonna say you're asking for it, but if you're in a story, you're asking for it.
So we should blame Brandon for that.
100%.
All right, so the water does start going down, which means Berrigan and Mara managed it. Mara, like, drops down in next to them and then is like, yes, we found the keyhole and just barely managed to get it. So,
and I love this
and Berrigan
mention.
comes back too, yeah.
Yeah, Berrigan mentions the keyhole and says, this place was designed by very cruel people.
Really, though?
I think that describes it nicely. First, real steel. Now, death by water torture. And then, like...
As the water's dropping down, so is the temperature. The water starts to get freezing cold.
Yeah, it started
like,
boiling.
Unnaturally.
And now we're getting freezing. And they notice, they're like, crap, it's going to freeze, which it'd be bad if you're frozen because, like, they're just barely hanging on to the canoe, so most of them just barely have their heads above water.
Well, even if you don't freeze, you're going to get hypothermia.
Oh, that too.
From the water being, like, really cold and then, like, being wet and getting out of cold water.
Mm-hmm. So they've established that the canoe was only big enough for two, so they haul Seth and Kendra into the canoe along with the key.
And they try to get over the island.
Which is just barely, like, as the water drops, it's, like, not even a presence, but it's getting to that point where it'll just barely start peeking out as the water is just starting to freeze. On the top layer. Like,
yeah.
It
like
describes Tanu is, like, one of the last ones onto the island, and Trask and Tanu followed, their bodies crashing through the thickening crust of ice until they lunged out of the freezing water. But as the surface became solid, the ice pinned Vincent. His head, shoulders, and arms stuck out of the frozen surface just a couple yards shy of the island. He tried to boost himself up, chuckling and gasping, but the ice around him shattered. He disappeared completely under the water, and before he came up, the surface had refrozen.
Oh, it's so horrific, man.
Especially how it goes even further, because he goes under, and then
Mara, like, shimmies out onto the ice, you know, and tries to, like, uses her pickaxe to, like, dig at the ice, and she can see him, but it keeps refreezing thicker and thicker, and he keeps pushing off.
Because he doesn't want to get
stuck in the ice, and then she's like, I can't see him anymore. And they don't know which direction he went, how far down he is, and the ice is now inches or feet thick.
I think the last part she could see him at was at least 4 feet of ice. And I think by the time they have to give up,
It's so horrifying.
I think they had barely carved their way 2 feet down.
Yeah. And it's going to freeze all the way down.
And
because, like, that's the sadistic nature of this place.
So everybody's, like, drawing their swords and, like, axes, doing what they can. Kendra had lost her sword. She had unbuckled it at the very beginning of this when the torrent of water had come in.
Yeah,
she was like,
didn't want to weigh her down.
Just lose the extra weight. As the others diligently burrowed, she monitored their pathetic progress in shock, trying not to dwell upon the unseen tragedy happening below her feet. Was Vincent already encased in ice, trapped motionless? Was he conscious? Was he frantically diving deeper, seeking to escape the inevitable as his breath ran out? Were they even digging in the right spot? After passing out of sight, he could have moved. Kendra sank to her knees.
Seth is like, this is like trying to dig through concrete. Like, it's frozen so hard. It's designed so that you can't dig through it fast enough. It's so freaking messed up.
It is.
And I know it's to remind people the deadliness of the vaults, because up till now we haven't had, I guess we've had one person die per vault, actually, now that I think about it.
2 in Lost Mesa, technically, because we lost,
Oh, yeah.
He was the skinwalker whose name was...
Neil.
Thank you.
No, we lost that other chick. They threw her off the mesa.
Oh, yeah.
Tammy. I was like, it starts with a T.
And then one other.
There's another one?
To the poison balls.
Oh, that was Neil.
No. No, you're right.
Neil dies to the poison balls.
Neil died. I thought he died at the top of the mesa, but
no.
Right. He gets injured.
Tammy gets thrown off, and then Neil pops one of the poison balls, and he dies.
I liked him.
I know. So yeah. And then what's his face? Christopher Vogel.
Yeah.
The guy, I can never remember his other name, but I remember his real name.
Errol.
Yeah. Every time we talk about him.
Fisk. Got it.
Every time we talk about him, I can't remember his fake name.
I pulled it because he got the same last name as Maddox and Dugan, and we had that one discussion. Like, was he trying to pull, like, hey, I'm related distantly?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I
still want to know. I still don't know who's older or younger. And anyway.
Yeah, I know.
But thing. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. One side character per vault.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, Dugan died in Wormroost, so pretty consistently getting, like, one person is dying per thing. That sucks.
Yeah, we lose pretty consistently.
We lose at least one person a buck, except the first one.
And usually it's at least one side character and then one close character. Because, like, here in book 3, we lose Neil and Tammy. And then we lose Lena. But then in book 4, we lose, I'm going to say Gavin. Because, I mean, we lost the idea of him.
Nah, he's not worth it. He was never real in the first place.
I know, but to Kendra, he was.
No!
Yeah, but then we lose Dugan, who, I don't know, maybe he kind of walks the line in between of
Dugan's more than a side. Like, he's a side character, but not like a one-off side character.
Yeah, he wasn't like Lena level, but he wasn't Neil level.
But I guess in this one, we lose a lot more people.
Yeah.
We lose Vincent. We lose Laura. Well, we're not going to talk about the rest of book 5. But,
I was thinking about it. I was wondering how far you were going to go.
I was talking about the chapters we've read.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I miss book 1 sometimes.
Back when nobody died. I hadn't really thought about like how many people die in each book, and it's like, it's actually kind of a lot more than I was thinking.
Yeah, I think the most we lost in book 1 was like some fairies.
Yeah.
They got killed by Bahamut.
Other fairies were turned from imps back into fairies, so
yeah.
It was an overall win.
Net gain.
Net gain. That's the good term.
So cold.
It is very cold term.
3 people died, but at least we got 5 more.
Yeah, well, that's terrible.
All right.
We gotta keep going. So yeah, they have to give up because they know that their enemies are probably somewhere hot on their tails, and Vincent, by this point, is already gone.
Yeah, and you know what also sucks about this? Like, in Fablehaven and Lost Mesa, the vaults were designed so that even if one group or one person beat an obstacle, the second group would still have to defeat the obstacle on their own.
You're right.
Yeah, because with Fablehaven, you have, like, the portrait room. They have to get their own key by activating a door.
The monkey room.
They can't go through.
Yeah.
Things like that. And then with Lost Mesa, the pillars, the
choke pods.
The choke
That's
pods.
what they're called.
Nice. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Like you
the
have
dragon.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to get through those things individually by yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas here, as they're going through the Dreamstone, there's not a second statue named Shalise. I don't know. Hang on, now I gotta come up with a better name than that. There's not a second statue named Victoria that the next group's gonna have to fight.
I just think of we're back to Twilight.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not a the water. I'm gonna predict is not gonna be
tsunami. Really, the only thing that's gonna slow them down is the Dreamstone messing with them with passageways. That's the only thing. All like the back and forth.
Yeah. Maybe But I don't see that happening either because they.
It's gonna make them like go back and forth.
Yeah, but we could talk about this more at the end. I was thinking initially maybe that during those switchbacks, maybe there's more options for extra traps that the Dreamstone can take them through. Like maybe there's another 2 obstacle.
I've never thought of that before.
Like
that's true.
Because imagine if this group makes it all the way to the Guardian of the Vault, of the Guardians of the Final Guardian, and they've like left the entire way clear. Like,
but they die at the Guardian.
But they die at the Guardian. Then the next group just has to get to the Guardian.
Just go to the Guardian. That's. Ooh.
So I wonder if the Dreamstone and then
I like that.
Maybe, and we could talk about this at the end.
No, I really like that.
Yeah, because and maybe just honestly, I think it's kind of messed up that Marav can enter. Why does he get to enter this vault when he's a magical creature?
When he's a wizard, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like maybe because it was made by wizards, but
because he's in his mortal, he's in a mortal form, so that's why.
It just feels like it feels messed up that they.
Because if you think, well, spoilers for Dragonwatch Book 2.
Like Hugo can't enter, but zombies can. Sorry, continue.
Listen again. I'm just thinking about precedent. Spoilers for Dragonwatch Book 2. Warning, warning, warning. When they're entering Stormguard Castle, the dragons have to be in mortal form.
That's true. They
so, like, Calvin can't even go in. So, like...
Why can they bring in the zombies, but Hugo couldn't get into the Fablehaven vault?
I guess it depends on what...
Like, I feel like the zombies are...
Okay, end of spoilers. I just wanted to say that one thing. End of spoilers for Dragonwatch 2.
Like, they just feel like you can send them into the... Like, Rav can just, like, create an air pocket, send them into the corridor.
Well, maybe it's also because, well, I don't know. I was going to say maybe it's because the zombies, a lot of them are from there, but so is Hugo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they just couldn't account for everything because zombies were humans. So maybe they still count. I don't know. I get what you mean. Like, it's not fair, but 100%. It is what it is. But yeah, basically, the morale has gone,
Yeah, we took our foot for a second.
I hate my brain.
Just to go down the drain.
I was gonna say 6 feet under.
Well, we don't know. It would be. It's at least 4.
Why is my brain morbid sometimes with the jokes?
It's the gallows humor.
I got morbid humor. Okay. Anyway.
Savage.
Yikes.
That was savage.
Okay.
All right. So
anyway,
now
moving on.
They're wet, they're cold, and they just lost a dude.
They're depressed.
There's depression here.
So yeah.
All right.
They go down, and then they see they're in a corridor, and it forks, and they're like, "Oh, frick, it's a maze."
Mara, take the lead.
Yeah. Mara's like, "Okay, follow me." The shifting maze, basically. And at first, she's like, "Oh, I could scout out ahead to maybe see the way out," but they're like,
"Because
you might not be able to get back to us if you left." And so
she's saying, because like she has kind of like, she's not quite Gavin level of enhanced.
Yeah,
but she's like
she's got an intuition for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and she's also got extra like physical stamina.
Yeah. And so, but so they're like, okay, well, let's all run so we can go through this faster. So they all start jogging. Jogging, yeah, not dead sprinting.
And at this point,
it's now the maze runner.
Yeah. See, it's at this point that they mention, as they're getting further and further, Mara, who has this keen sense of direction and time, she's saying that the sun is about to set outside. And this is important because that means that Mirav, is it Mirav or Miraz?
Mirav.
Miraz is
Captain Prince Caspian.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Mirav is the wizard. And
Mirav, yeah.
Direct sunlight will kill him, so he can only join when it's dark.
And now that the sun is setting, he's going to be joining the hunt.
Yes.
Which is another point to the idea that, no, there's not more obstacles because... like
they get there pretty fast.
Yeah, they catch up real quick.
That's true. Oh, dang it. I liked your theory, though.
I know, me too. Maybe Mr. Lich and Tarina were just kicking butt.
Yeah, maybe.
And Marav just got there to turn in the group project at the end.
So yeah, it's funny as they're jogging, no one wants to be the weak link and be like, please stop for a sec, you know?
So Tawny gets to be the
Take
the
one
guy,
for the team.
Okay, we're gonna stop. The kids are dying.
Need a breather, please. Everyone's pride is a little too high still.
And they have to do this.
No one complains.
Yeah, and it they have to do this 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. And then they take a break to
actually
eat.
ends up falling asleep during one of them.
Yeah, when they stop to eat, she's her body is like food, sleep, sleep.
Yeah, it gives I'm listening to Stormlight Archive and it's just giving me trauma back to bridge runs right now.
Oh.
It's not quite as bad, obviously.
No.
But just the slog of just carrying the bridge in between chasms, taking a break, collapsing, and then back
Stiffening
into the bridge.
Up. Yeah. And Seth points out, makes a good point. He says, the scary thing in here, Seth said, around a mouthful of food, is that we could lose ground with a wrong turn and run right into the zombies. Which, sucks. Yeah. Which is then when Mara says the sun's about to set. Yeah.
And so then, and really, they have to be completely reliant on Mara, because Mara is basically saying, because she's like, I won't forget an intersection, I won't forget a turn, but what they're doing right now is just eliminating possibilities. They're going through every possibility so that Mara can find them a way through, and that sucks.
But they keep running, and then they stop at a fork that even Kendra recognizes, and Mara's like, I don't know what to do. We've run through every single corridor, every single intersection, and I don't know how to move forward, basically.
Mm-hmm. How about we go backward?
Yeah, Kendra
really,
coming
really
clutch.
fast. Have you watched Ready Player One?
No.
It's it was a pretty decent movie. It was a good book, but there's one point where everybody's trying to get through this unbeatable race, which nobody can win, and it's essential to moving forward in a contest. And the main character is trying to figure this out, and so he goes and listens to the creators of the races journal. And at one point he's about to walk away, but then he hears the creator go, "What if we went backward, really, really fast?" And he's like, "What?"
It's wait, is that the answer?
So he tries on the next run, and lo and behold, going backward was the answer. But same thing here. Mara's like, of course.
They've only doubled back at dead ends, but they decide, what if we double back at an intersection? And Mara's like, that has to be it. And so it's funny because Seth first of all, Trask is like, good thinking, Kendra. And then Seth says, I was about to say the same thing, Seth complained.
He's been making such good progress. We had to be reminded that he was a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
still.
He's like, darn it.
That was what this comment was. He's been so mature. Gotta bring it back down to reasonable level.
So yeah, they start doing that, and Mara's like, yes, this is making progress. Mm-hmm. And it eventually puts them out into the final room.
Mm-hmm. Can I bring up something really quickly?
Yes.
There's a conversation between Seth and Trask during one of the breaks where Seth mentions, after one of Trask's rousing moral
speeches.
Oh yeah. He says, "You're a good leader," Seth said pensively. "How do you prepare for an adventure like this?" Trask huffed. "You can't fully prepare. You do your best to acquire diverse skills. You try to learn from your successes and mistakes over the years. You try to assemble a team with varied talents and expertise. Mostly, you strive to stay calm enough to think clearly even under extreme pressure. You try to use the adrenaline for focus rather than panic. You stay on your toes, ready to improvise, and you hope for the best." Wise
Pretty
words.
solid advice.
These are wise words, enterprising men quote 'em. Don't act surprised, you guys, because I wrote 'em.
Back to Hamilton.
It's all right. It just fit.
It does. So yeah, they come out.
I just like that little bit.
Yeah, I like that too. So they come out into a vast, empty room, and it says, polished expanses of dark obsidian form the floor, walls, and ceiling, illuminated by the same mysterious light prevalent throughout the convoluted passageways. So they're like, I don't know where the light's coming from.
Yeah, there's been no little sunstones.
I mean, with the magic wind coming through, you can't really question it. Mm-hmm. And then 3 strange devices patrolled the far side of the otherwise vacant room. 2 mechanical bulls, and 1 mechanical lion. This is giving me Greek mythology vibes.
I was going to say specifically
Sea of Monsters. Exactly.
Percy Jackson.
We have to get our Percy Jackson reference in.
It's a requirement, let's be honest, guys.
Yes. Composed of overlapping iron plates, the elephant-sized bulls.
I forgot about
huge.
that. Holy frick.
Elephant-sized bulls tossed their heads as they rolled around the floor on 4 wheels, their metal legs dangling decoratively. The artfully rendered bronze lion, slightly larger than the bulls, larger than a lion, that's crazy, prowled about on huge paws, moving with a sinuous grace, inconsistent with its clockwork appearance. Are these the guardians of the artifact? Seth wondered. I hope so, Elise said. I've had my fill of this place.
I always love it when the more serious characters are just like, let's just
like,
be done.
Can we be done with this? I'm over this.
It's Trask being blue fishy thing. It's Elise being, can we get out of here, please?
Yeah. So that's the end of chapter 4. Now we're at chapter 5. Last chapter we're going over. Translocator. Kendra's like, I don't see any keyholes. Oh, you already spotted the other one.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, you only get one.
You filled your quota.
So
they walk in and the bulls start coming at them.
I love how the bulls aren't even running on all 4 legs. It's just that the legs are dangling and they're on wheels.
Yeah,
that's just such a funny image to me.
It is kind of
regardless
funny.
of the fact that they're the size of elephants.
Size of elephants, and even it's like a smaller elephant. That's still really big.
Yeah, I'm not going in that room, which is why Kendra, Seth, and Elise hang back in the entrance.
Yeah, let the adults do it this time.
Yeah, and there's this moment where Trask asks, who has the key? And I'm just like, what if somebody forgot the key during one of the breaks?
Like, bro, you should not be. That's not the question to ask now. You should have asked that way back when.
Like, I imagine they're checking up, like, who's got the key. Because at this point, I think it's like 6 to 10 pounds at this. Yeah, 6 or 7 pounds.
Yeah.
But I can just imagine, and whoever was running with it had to have hated that. Just an extra 7 pounds can be a lot.
Should have been handing that thing off.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, like,
so we know Trask wasn't carrying it. It was probably, my guess, Berrigan or Tanu.
Yeah, and so I'm just thinking, like, if it got left behind and they had to go
Tanu
back,
has it. Yeah.
Yeah, Tanu has it now, but if they had left it
behind,
Tanu,
such a bro.
Like, I can just see, especially because who has the key is like the last word is the last sentence on one of my page. The next one, I could see the next line being, "I thought you had it."
Would have been terrible. But kind of realistic, honestly.
So realistic, but absolutely tragic.
So yeah, they spread out because they're gonna be matadors, basically.
Percy Jackson won as well.
Yeah, but the bulls go directly. Beef. Yeah. The bulls go directly toward Tanu because they know he has the key. And so Trask is like, here, throw it here. So they're playing hot potato with the key. And it gets one of the bulls to divert.
Yeah, one of the bulls will always primarily target the key, but the other can either
go after
sometimes we'll go for the key, but other times, especially as they keep passing it, it'll try to intercept the most likely second candidate. So
Trask does, the thing that all, Percy Jackson or whatever anyone does, last second dive out of the way.
Because especially with the bulls literally being on wheels, you can't turn that fast.
No.
But they know for a fact that the lion is going to be a different issue. But they also know that the lion is the most likely location of the last keyhole because the bulls are positioned as
they're protecting
the lion.
So Trask and Mara start running toward the lion.
Have you read all of Spirit Animals?
Define all. Do you mean all of the first series?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the lion, great beast?
Is this spoiler territory?
A little bit. It just reminds there's a great beast. Yeah, there's a lion. Yeah. He's probably equivalent in size, but it reminds me of it where he's
the great beasts are big.
He chills back and lets his pack take care of things. It just gives me this similar vibe.
Well, I mean, probably it's kind of like letting the lionesses do the fighting or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's the lion way.
Yes.
Anyways, we protect the pride as we nap.
So Trask throws the key to Mara.
Mara casually backflips onto one of the
Dude,
elephant-sized
we've
bulls.
already remember book 4. We already decided Mara was a gymnast. She was like dodging the griffins.
Yeah,
and
she
whatever.
does a couple of one-handed like aerials, or
just casually, you know.
it's not an aerial is if you don't put your hand down. He says it's a one-handed cartwheel, so I'll just stick with that. But
yeah,
and then she ends up on the back of one of the bulls.
that's pretty crazy.
The iron bull tossed its head, metallic parts squealing, but Mara rode it effortlessly.
And then the next line, Kendra resisted a smile. Her friends seemed to have the situation under control. She's like, they've got it.
Especially and then that's even before Tanu goes Hulk.
Yeah, he drinks his
Giant
potion and, you know, gets big.
Yeah, he goes to twice his former height.
He's already big, so.
Yeah, he's already big.
He's probably like 12 foot tall? 10, 12 foot tall?
Easy.
He's got to be at least 6 foot, you know? He's a big Samoan.
I would say 12.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so, like, we're having this great time. We're making it through. And then...
They've got it all under control.
And then, suddenly, beside Kendra, Seth stumbled abruptly forward. He turned to face her, his expression shocked. It took her a moment to notice the arrowhead protruding from his chest.
Elise and Kendra whirled to see Torina at the far end of the hall behind them, setting another arrow to her bowstring. Zombies staggered into view around her. One of the leading zombies was clearly recognizable as Laura. Her hair disheveled, her outfit tattered and bloodied. Another was Chimera. Torina looked giddily triumphant.
Hang on, we need to hit
I was
that for a second.
I was just getting to Torina.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Torina looked giddily triumphant. Back at the house, she had been too far away for it to clearly view. The Lectoblix appeared even younger than when Kendra had spoken with her, and more athletic as well, like a woman who obviously knew her way around a gym. Anyway, her appearance, whatever. Torina freaking shot Seth!
And tries to shoot Kendra.
Yeah. Here, I'll read that. Before Kendra could react, she grinned as she pulled the arrow back.
Torina.
Yes. Before Kendra could react, the arrow struck the center of her belly, jostling her backward as it rebounded off the adamant mail under her shirt. Seth had given her that armor. It was rightfully his. Had he been wearing it, he would not have an arrow through his ribcage. Light blue eyes holding Kendra's gaze, Torina gave a disappointed pout. She freaking just shot Seth!
And tried to shoot Kendra, which I do have a point there to make as...
I'm surprised you didn't try to shoot Kendra first.
And especially it also, I think, matters where they were shot. Seth got it through the chest, through the ribs. Kendra, she aimed for the stomach. One is considerably more lethal.
Yeah, but is she that good of a shot that she could do a difference between the ribs and the stomach, which is inches?
She's, for reasons to be determined later on in this book, I believe, yes, she is a good enough shot. But I wonder if at this point Seth's like, I'd rather have Kendra, but he gets Seth, get him too.
Does the adamant go all the way around Kendra's body, or is it just like a chest plate?
I think it's male. I think it's a male shirt.
Okay, it's a male shirt. Okay. Oh yeah, it's the mithril.
Yes.
Okay.
But can we talk about the zombies?
The fact that it's Laura and Chimera, they made them zombies.
Can we talk about how messed up that is?
Yeah. It's extremely messed up.
The psychological...
Poor Berrigan.
I'm glad he doesn't... He will have to see
He will have to see them because they capture him.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Berrigan is the lone...
Poor Berrigan.
Berrigan is the lone survivor.
Yep.
Because they established that everybody
They killed everyone else.
Because of Laura's actions, heroic actions in saving.
Yes.
Berrigan is the only survivor.
Yep.
From this, and he nearly dies facing off with the lion. I'm surprised he doesn't die. He gets oh come on, pull it out, Jess, pull it out. He gets Asland. Book three, Horse and His Boy. What is her name?
I know who you're talking about.
Female main character. It's Shasta and Aravis.
Aravis.
I cannot believe I just pulled that out.
Good job.
Aravis, as she's fleeing from a lion who turns out to be Aslan, gets scratched along the back as like punishment for what her actions caused to her
we
maidservant.
don't need to talk about
But
don't get me started on Narnia right now, man. Freaking movie news.
He gets batted with the lion's claw, which again is bigger than an elephant, and he gets up and walks it off. He should not be. We should have no survivors.
You get killed.
From Dreamstone.
Walk it off.
I knew you would love it. I knew you would love it. I knew you would love it. Did you not though? Did you not love it?
I said I did.
I know.
I was just quoting Avengers Age of Ultron, where Captain America says, if you get killed, walk it off. Because Jessica sent me something along the lines of it
was
the other day.
Reference.
So
yeah,
that's what I'm referencing.
But yeah, so
yeah.
Just like the amount.
The way that Tarina's like so disappointed that the arrow didn't
kill Kendra,
she's just like pouting. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I still can't. Like,
it's crazy.
I still can't come to terms with the fact that Berrigan, as he's being chained, as Marav enters the fray,
as they're being captured,
is gonna have to stare at his zombified
family,
mentor, and sister.
Yeah, his family that he had left, his traitor sister, and the mentor that sacrificed her life to get them out. The only solace that he has is that they got away with the artifact. But
yeah, because eventually they nearly get Tanu is wrestling the lion to the ground as the zombies are coming down the hallway, and they just barely manage to get the keyhole underneath its chin and turn it. And Mara comes up with the artifact, saying it was in the doll, or it was in the egg. It was in the egg, which is
so brilliant.
The egg
we can talk about that in a second. We gotta go back to Seth.
Oh yeah, Seth is dying.
Yeah, we were focused on Seth and we went to Berrigan. Now we're gonna go back to Seth.
Dying.
Seth is literally dying. He has an arrow in him.
In his chest. Which honestly, I'm kind of shocked that she went for the chest, because you'd think the Sphinx was like, hey, don't kill either of the kids.
Yeah, but I still feel like, that's like the easiest place to hit still. I don't know. I don't think she's not like ranger level.
Oh, definitely not.
So
but at the same time, the hallway's not that long, I feel like.
Yeah. Anyway, Elise says, we've got company, seizing Seth's shoulder and rushing him around the side of the entryway out of the line of sight of the passage. And of course, Kendra, very understandably, starts to freak out because her little brother is dying in front of her eyes.
And so Seth manages to...
Seth... He scrambled in his emergency kit, withdrew a flask, then handed the satchel to Kendra. Keep it safe, he rasped. And then Kendra is like, you're going to be all right. Kendra assured him everything's happening so fast. And then Seth, I'm a shish kebab. Why are you? He's trying to cope. And then Kendra's freaking out. She's like, you can't go gaseous. We don't know if you'll be able to teleport. But that's also the only way he can really stay alive, because if he goes gaseous, it'll like freeze his state. So it was very smart of him, but it's also like there's not a good choice in the situation, really.
Either die or live in captivity.
Yeah.
Or live and not know what's happening next.
Seth goes gaseous, and Elise grabs Kendra to get her away from the entrance because all the bad guys are coming in. And then, like you were saying, Tanu holds down the lion, Mara puts in the key, and they get the translocator.
Which, again, was inside.
It's so... I think the translocator is my favorite vault because the egg was the vault.
Yeah.
It's so genius.
It makes you kind of wish that, maybe somebody had tried to... But at the same time, it guarantees the survival of the key. Well, it guarantees the survival of the artifact because the key is established as essential to getting into the vaults, but it is the vault. I don't know where I'm going with that. Just know that I like it too.
It's very clever.
So, oh man, it's so good. So initially, Mara has the key, and Trask is just like, "Get out of here, go."
Yeah, and so Tanu,
because she's over by Berrigan and Tanu.
Yeah, Tanu and Berrigan, because it's like it's like a cylinder,
It has three sections.
Three sections that move.
That rotate.
And so they grab it and they twist it, and nothing happens
because it's
They need the battery.
They need the battery.
I need Kendra to touch it.
Charger, go long.
So yeah, they chuck it,
To
and Elise makes the catch.
Call this girl Travis Kelsey for this catch. My goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets it to Kendra. It comes to life. And they just hesitate because Trask is hightailing it over.
Yeah.
But of course, Tarina is sighting again with another arrow. And as she lets go, Trask grabs on and rotates the central section, getting them out. And it's just like the whiplash of going from this high stress
intensity,
and intense environment where people are dying, wizards are appearing, and chains are slithering across.
I was going to say, right before they go away, first of all, Trask lifted his crossbow, aimed, and let loose another coral. The wizard waved his hand, and the coral turned into a harmless stream of twinkling dust. Behind the wizard, the gray assassin stalked confidently into the room, swords unsheathed. And that's when Trask is, like, booking it to Kendra and Elise.
Yeah, and then Tarina is about to fire the arrow. Chains are slithering out of the
Mirov
wizard's bag.
The chains. The chain.
Gives me Dragon Prince vibes when Claudia uses her snake chains.
Ah, yeah.
The dark magic chains. But yeah, so, and they finally, and then just immediately, just like the immediate like deflating of, we're in a high-rise apartment in Manhattan.
And you hear like traffic outside. That's gonna be such a good like visual and like audio, like in a TV show or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Going from like high intensity thing and then boop,
like
we're just in an apartment, and you're like, what?
It's like Harry Potter book 7, like and then immediately just white King's Cross Station.
Yeah.
Just from like this intense, like the music is
intense
swelling,
situation.
Like everything is happening, like it's like
it's very jarring.
And then
yeah,
silence.
It's extremely jarring. You're like, oh,
it's like a more intense version of the bubble stopping.
But then they know, like, while they're there, everything is still happening all the way out on the other side of the world, which is also crazy to think about.
Only 3 people got out right there.
Instantaneous
travel
from Australia to New York City.
Holy crap, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, but yeah, Trask, of course, he's on it. He is the leader. He's like, let go, I'm going back.
Yeah, he goes to try and get anyone he possibly can.
He teleports back, and Elise and Kendra are just sitting there, because right
like,
now,
what do we
as
do?
far as they know, if Trask doesn't come back, they're cooked.
Yeah, they don't the others, the society will have the translocator.
And they will literally be the only survivors of this entire mission.
Yeah.
And so
they're there for like a minute or two, really only probably like a minute. And Kendra's like, he'll be back, right? And Elise is trying to comfort her and says, he'll be back. She probably not sure if she believes it, but she's got to say it. And then Kendra says, is there a chance he'll get Seth? Elise stared with wordless sympathy. He'll try, she finally said.
What can you do? And just, I love the ambiance, like, here. It's like, for a moment, they just stood together in silence. The refrigerator hummed as the compressor kicked on.
Yeah.
You can hear, like, I love
you can hear
that.
You can hear the traffic, like.
Yeah, those are such good generic environment sounds that just put you in that mood of just, like, holy crap,
and they're just kind of, they're just sitting there. And then Kendra starts to talk, and then all of a sudden, Trask reappears with Tanu, who is in chains. And Trask got shot with an arrow.
Yeah, an arrow is literally sticking out of his shoulder.
Yeah, and Trask is like, we can't go back. Can't lose the artifact. What happened? I'm sorry. What about the others? Elise asked. Mara and Berrigan are wrapped in chains, Tanu said. The wizard cast a spell and sucked Seth into a bottle. Kendra whimpered involuntarily, her hands going to her mouth. What will happen to him?
Darling.
Inside the bottle, he won't be able to revert to his normal state, Tanu explained. He'll be preserved as a gas until released. Theoretically, for years, he's been imprisoned.
It could be worse.
Trask said gently. I mean, what are you supposed to say to that?
There's not...
He says, well, the wizard could have scattered and destroyed him. At least that means they want him alive. Which is a
arrow
good
through
point.
the heart doesn't lend much to that conclusion. But
Yeah,
I guess
I wonder
so.
if Tarina got a talking to for that.
Yeah, honestly. Kendra nodded. Oh, man. Kendra nodded, trying to act brave as tears leaked down her cheeks. It felt like her heart was being squeezed. First her parents, now Seth. What else would the Sphinx take from her?
Everything, if he could.
Honestly. And I love this bit from Elise. Couldn't I pop in, grab Mara, and pop out? Elise asked.
Because, like, you think that you could. It's something that's, like, instantaneous, but
But
no.
I also love that she specifically is like, I bonded with that girl. She's my girl.
I know. Mara's her friend.
Like, I feel like just, like, little things like that really sell, like, the interpersonal relationships besides, like, because, like,
The main
Kendra and
characters.
Seth, Kendra and Seth are our main characters, so we know how all of they relate to each other based on how they relate to Seth and Kendra. But just seeing these little extra things where it's Mara and Elise, it's Trask and Tanu, having those relationships as outside of just how they relate to Kendra and Seth, is just really
I like
great for
that.
the world building.
I like that. And then Trask is like, we can't. I barely made it out. They're ready for us. They'll get you. We have to choose a better time. And then Elise turned and hugged Kendra. Seth will be all right. We have a powerful new weapon in our war against the society. We'll use the translocator to get your brother back and your parents. Kendra wasn't sure how much she believed the words, but they were so nice to hear. Warren, Kendra said softly. We should get Warren. And then Tawny's like, should we go to Fablehaven first? And Kendra's like, nope. Warren could be starving to death. We have to get him now. And so she and Elise go to get Warren out of the knapsack. Which
is a very needed levity.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
We
need our boy back.
We lost Seth. We need Warren back.
That's true. We
need our boy. So they pop in. Just Kendra and Elise.
Yeah, Kendra visions the knapsack, twists the cylinder. It's interesting. It's like a folding sensation, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're in the room.
An electric lantern illuminated the scene. A small troll with an oversized head, greenish skin, and a wide, lipless mouth whirled to face Kendra and Elise, sniffing suspiciously. Near the troll sat a man in grimy clothes, his face obscured by a beard and long hair. He hasn't had a bathroom in 6 months.
I think it's more like 3 months. But yeah, still 3 months.
Yeah, without a bathroom, a shower, anything. That place must stink.
Yeah. Be careful which barrel you open. That's what Bub just said.
I know it is. I wasn't going to say it, but you did.
And it's what he said last time. And then Bub was like, how you get here?
But now it's not just a troll. It's a man, a full-grown man. Ugh.
Yeah, okay. We don't need to talk about that. That's gross.
All right. It occurred to me as I was reading it. He also now has a beard. I would love to see the beard.
How you get here? Bubda asked, his posture becoming less aggressive. Kendra held up the translocator. A magical transporter. Warren rose to his feet warily. Who are you? He asked, unsmiling. You know who I am, Kendra said. Warren narrowed his eyes, one hand straying to the knife in his belt. Forgive me if I don't run over and hug you. What kind of game is this? It's so good.
I love seeing this side of Warren. Like, this is the Warren who was sent on a top secret mission to go and retrieve an artifact for the Sphinx. Because he was just that damn good.
He's so smart. Because Kendra realizes the last time Warren saw her she was basically
she
like
screamed,
Navarog. Yeah, Navarog's prisoner. And that's what he says. He's like, how did you get away from Navarog, Kendra? Like, he's obviously very suspicious for good reason, because
100%.
He can't think of a way, like a logical way that Kendra would be there.
And let's be honest, it's not actually very logical or
reasonable.
It's really not.
The dragon that couldn't heal Warren just made him smell minty. Eating
I love the
Navarog.
I love the way it says it. He's like, I'd love to believe you. Like he's like, I would love to believe that this is actually you, Kendra and Elise, coming to rescue me, but how'd you get away from the dragon? Raxus ate him. You mean the
little guy who tried to heal me?
The 5'0" puny guy?
Yeah.
Ate the big mountain
says the little guy who tried to heal me, Warren exclaimed incredulously. word of advice. If you're going to lie, make it somewhat believable.
Yeah, Kendra explains they were in the cleft. Rexus could fit. Gavin was in his human form. And Warren's like, okay, doing better.
It's like, I still don't believe you.
Let's do the final test. Abilities, not knowledge. Sting bulbs can Sting bulbs can replicate knowledge, but they cannot replicate your abilities. Turning off the lights.
He's like,
how many fingers?
Also, he's like, nobody move. I'm gonna turn this light off.
You know his knife is out, though.
Oh, yeah. And so Warren's like, how many fingers am I holding up? He's holding up 4 fingers. I love this. Warren held up 4 fingers. How many fingers am I holding up? He asked. 4, Bubda answered. Not you, Bubda, Warren complained. I already know you can see in the dark. How about now? And Kendra answers perfectly. He changes however many. And, I love it. Warren clicked the light back on. He looked hopeful. And then Elise makes a good point. If the society knew how to get in here, they wouldn't need to use subterfuge.
It makes him feel better.
But, like, for him, it's, like, too good to be true. Because Kendra's like, Trask and Tawny are waiting for us. They're injured. And Warren's like, so you got the thing? Because he doesn't want to say it in front of Bubda.
Yeah, skipping on a little bit. Kendra's like, how are you feeling? He's like, I'm a little malnourished. I was rationing to make sure I didn't run out of food too much. Elise, you look like you're in good shape, Elise noted, not without admiration.
Can you blame a girl?
No, you cannot. And no, you cannot. Not much to do here, Warren said. I've been exercising and playing Yahtzee.
So much Yahtzee. Can imagine
just like the
hauntedness in his voice.
Dissociation as he mentions it.
So much Yahtzee.
Just hearing like the rattle of the dice. The back.
It's his worst nightmare. It's literally driving him insane. And Bubba's like, more Yahtzee? More Yahtzee? And then Bubba's like, you go now.
And Warren's like, dude, the food's not infinite. You're gonna run out eventually. Even the disgusting gloop that only you can live on. Yeah. He's like,
and Bubba's
not
like,
as bad as granola.
But what about all the Yahtzee we played? If Bubda play alone, Bubda always win.
Warren turned to Kendra and Elise. I got 7 Yahtzees once in a single game. 7!
He cheat, Bubda mumbled.
For the millionth time, how was I supposed to cheat? You were right there. You watched me roll the dice.
You cheat, Bubda said. Too much luck.
And what about the time you got 5 Yahtzees? Warren reminded him.
That's skill, Bubda said smugly. I hate to interrupt, Elise said.
That was like the perfect way to show that these guys have been alone together for 3 months.
They're just roommates who have not had interaction with anybody else.
For far too long.
They're having the same fights. And Elise is like, remember, we talked about Trask and Warren? You know, we need to get back.
We gotta go. And so they're like...
Bubba's like, yeah, you go.
And he actually says, lady right, lady only smart one. You go. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll leave the troll for now. We'll come back later.
We can come back and get him.
He'll survive for a week until we decide what to do with him. And so
they go back to Trask's apartment. Well, first of all, Warren's like, I'm not abandoning you. Enjoy your break. I will come back.
And so they're like, well, we going back to Fablehaven? No, we're going back to Trask's apartment. Does he have stuff in his fridge? Warren has his priorities straight. Bro's been living off of granola for the past month.
Yeah.
Or probably more, because, I mean, the food they would have stored in there would have been, like,
non-perishable.
Non-perishable, preservatives.
Which is not very good.
No, it's not going to keep
you... It keeps you alive, and that's it.
It's not going to make you happy.
No.
And so he's like, I just love, like, as they're getting ready to go to Fablehaven, repeatedly over the next few pages, he's saying... How about you teleport us to a barbershop or maybe swing by a burger joint?
Yeah.
Like, just constantly.
I like when they first pop in and we're already cracking jokes. You guys never get a break. All in a day's work, Tanu replied.
Well, I mean, they're popping in to Tanu literally bandaging up the arrow wound in Trask's shoulder.
And then Trask, you look like you were marooned on a desert island, Trask said. I wish. I would have given anything for an ocean breeze.
Stroking the probably magnificent beard.
Kendra, how about you teleport us to a barbershop?
I'm just picturing, like, rough Kaladin, like, like on honor chasm, just like, maybe not quite as depressed.
Maybe
but
he looks
definitely just as rugged. All right.
Yeah,
So
want to
Kendra's
swing by a
we're,
burger point?
We're not swinging by the burger joint.
I like how
Mom-
he's like out of the
Grandma will
side
get
of
you
his
something.
mouth.
Grandma will get you something. We're out.
Yeah. So they go right into the kitchen.
And Trask is just like, okay, so not inhibited by any boundaries whatsoever. Good to know.
Yeah. So
'Cause-
Kendra drops off Warren and Elise, goes back for Tanu and Trask, and then they go back.
When they appeared in the kitchen, Grandma, Grandpa, and Coulter were already there. They looked subdued. Get this, Stan, Tanu said. The key we retrieved in Wormroost had smaller keys inside it, like a nesting doll. And guess what we found at the center? The translocator.
The key was the vault,
Grandpa said. Elise told us about Seth and the others, Coulter said. Grandma caught Kendra in a tight embrace. We'll get him back, she promised. Kendra nodded, eyes stinging. She didn't trust herself to speak. The poor girl.
So sad. We got Warren back, but we lost Seth and the others.
Yeah, we're down to 4 at this point. 5, sorry.
5.
Well, 4 got out of Obsidian Waste, and then we picked
Oh,
up 4
yeah,
on the
and
way
then
back.
we picked up, yeah.
That is not a good success rate.
No. Only like half of them got out. If that. So, yeah. That's the end of the chapters for today.
Yeah.
It's like the first portion of the book.
Mm-hmm.
The
first arc.
Yeah, the first arc. They went and got the they had the translocator the whole time, but they had to open it in the Dreamstone.
I honestly wonder what would have happened if they had taken like a saw to it.
I don't
Like, I
think
imagine
they
it's
enchanted.
I imagine it's magic.
It wouldn't work.
Just
Think of it as like vibranium or something. I don't know.
all right, yeah, I'll take that.
Magically enchanted.
It would have been funny if. So it's like, I wonder how this. Key
I mean,
works.
they could have tried, but it wouldn't have worked.
They use some X-ray vision. Be like, what shape did you say the translocator was?
A cylinder. Oh, well.
Does anybody have a table saw? Because there is a shape that looks similar to that in here. Just saying.
This would be spoilers for Dragonwatch to book 4. So spoilers for Dragonwatch through book 4.
Which, again, remember, means if you've not read that book, check the description or the comments to find out what to skip through in order to avoid the spoilers.
Okay. Do you think that the Unforgiving Blade could cut through it?
Ooh. I'm going to say yes.
Yes?
Because, I mean, these keys and these vaults were created by Agid and whatever his name, OG wielder of Vasilis.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
And the Unforgiving Blade is supposed to be, like, unforgiving, for lack of a better word. Cuts
through everything.
And anything, yeah. So I'm going to say yes, Unforgiving Blade cuts through it. Your thoughts?
I think it would cut through everything except the translocator, probably.
Yeah, you definitely have to be careful you don't accidentally slice the translocator. Because, I mean, what we established later on in, like, this book is like, hey, why don't we just destroy the Sands of Sanctity or destroy the...
It would just...
That alone,
yeah.
If you destroy the keys, it unravels the lock.
Yeah.
Just because of, like...
So I don't know if it... Well, maybe it would, but I just was thinking, like, what cuts through stuff? The Unforgiving Blade.
Yeah. I'm going to say yes on that one. I don't think Agid can put up a...
I think probably, yeah.
How many...
At least definitely, like, what the key is, like, what the translocator is in.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm wondering... Like, there were, like, 5 wizards on this, right?
Yeah. So they probably each took one vault.
Yeah, I wonder which one Agid was involved in.
That's a good question.
And if it was this one, what was in his tea that morning?
What did they do to you, Agid, to piss you off that much?
Yeah.
I wonder...
That'd be really interesting to know, like, which wizard formed which vault.
Yeah. Try to decide if it would be one that we've seen or not.
We've only seen, like, 2, haven't we?
We've been to 3. Fablehaven, Lost Mesa, and...
wizards. We've only seen 2 wizards.
Yeah. The other wizards are gone.
Yeah.
It's just Agid and Mr. Zombie guy. I can't
Living
remember his
Dead.
name.
Yeah, Mr. Living Dead. I could probably
What
find it
is
really
his
quickly.
name? It's like, oh, what is it?
It's gonna be just past. It's
it-
gonna be Vasilis. There it
It's
is.
Vasilis, yeah.
I was looking
It's
for
like
Totem.
Mont or some,
How does it start with an M?
I don't know.
Morrisant.
Morsant. I got the end right. I said
got
aunt.
the M.
And we put it together and we almost got it.
Mont.
Morsant. Sounds
Yes.
like Coruscant.
It does, indeed.
Star Wars. Anyway.
Stop.
Okay, so put it in the comments below. Do you think the unforgiving blade could cut open the translocator vault?
Or
Do you
really,
think
yeah.
yes? Or
I think yes.
I would be too stressed to think about if it could destroy
The
an
translocator.
artifact.
Yeah.
It probably could, but that's I don't want to open that can of worms.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was just a thought that popped in my head.
I honestly, spoiler section ended. I'm impressed with the intricacy that they put into making this vault impenetrable.
Yeah.
Like this vault was a death trap, and they were lucky they had the perfect combination of skills. They had divers, they had orientationalist, good orienteering. There we go. That's a good way of putting it. They
Intuition.
had potion master who could give them the fire resistance as well as do the giant.
I mean,
The irony is that they had the
It's-
least amount of problems with what's supposed to be the
like what-
hardest part of the vault.
it's like what Trask said. You try to get the best team that you possibly can. And
Or
you
at least just
happen to
have Mara.
Yeah. Honestly, all you really need is Mara and probably Barrigan.
For this one, well, I don't know. For making Goliath, you probably like having the crew was helpful.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying like you only need that, but
Yeah, but
Kinda more
no,
of a
they
joke.
definitely came in clutch.
so yeah, end of these chapters. Next chapter is Living Mirage. All right, so that concludes this week's chapters of Keys to the Demon Prison, Book 5 of Fablehaven. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We are really excited to be starting Book 5, and
Incredibly excited.
yeah, we're excited to delve deeper into this book because, it's just the best conclusion, and obviously there's so many things that we have been waiting to talk about for like 2 years now, so we're excited to get to it. But thank you guys for listening today. If you have any comments or questions, please email us at knightsofthedawnpodcast@gmail.com or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We love to read the comments. And if we don't answer your question, either we will, we'll like it, or there might be a reason why we don't answer it. So just keep that in mind.
And also, real quick, sorry about the gap in recording releases. There was some extenuating circumstances.
We were having some troubles with recording, but
scheduling was
yeah.
an absolute nightmare
Yeah.
for a little while.
But hey, we
there.
got through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also in the next few episodes, don't be surprised if there is a little bit more time in between them.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of that.
We're just trying to find a new rhythm, a new schedule. So
Yeah,
keep an eye out, but don't hold your breath.
yeah, they're coming. We promise. We swear.
We are committed.
We pinky promised. They're coming.
And probably, let's be honest, they're probably going to be a bit longer on average.
Oh well, the past few episodes have been really long. Anyway, this is the end of this episode, so we don't have to worry about that. If you know anyone that enjoys Brandon Moore's books, please be sure to share this podcast with them. And until next time, my name is Megan.
And I'm Jessica.
See ya.
Drink the milk.